So some background information is...
You wish to speak? Walk with the earth.
What?
win the act back.
Oh, go Thonti! You motherfucker! Total surprise. Den kan jeg ikke lave. At least I can go Thonti. So good. Big salmon. Frolas. Okay. Og hvad mere? Okay. Dialogue East.
Healing potion.
Ooh,
Got 3 boiler, let's get it.
that's very
No
nice.
sheep, just kill them. Good.
Hey
I
guys.
faded as well.
Oh, good present, just all the wrong buttons.
Oh, the ramp buttons.
So, is anyone up for some Diamond East?
Hello.
Yep.
God damn it.
Now we're doing a dungeon run with the alts at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, shut you up.
Slurpee's my main, I don't know what you're talking about. You get stuff to level 60, man. I gotta get into the raid group.
Speedrun the shit.
Don't worry about that one.
Taking a few slips. I'm healing now. These poisons are kind of nasty.
Hmm.
Do we have poison cleansing? Not yet, right?
Wait, let me see.
Yeah, you should have it by now.
I don't think we ever went to go get the
So I
title.
have the ability Cure Poison,
Yes.
but I haven't
Oh!
done the final
Yeah,
quest
okay,
for the
that's fine.
totem.
Perfect, thanks. It's not worth going deeper into discipline than getting the meditation, right? I should just now go into holy.
What about
Okay.
Farm Fusion?
Or
That's-
Shadow.
No, not going shadow. What?
Oh, just put, go put us back to Power Yoink.
Yeah, bro, come on. You're a strong mage.
We'll pull 200 mobs, then we just Power Fusion Yoink and he AoE farms.
And then 3 of you guys clap and cheer.
Yeah, woo! Go, yoink! Yeah, I'm gonna put points into holy crit.
Holy critteroni.
Probably respec soon anyway. I need a bit of a drink after this.
Alright.
Remember, you need to pick up the stupid shards.
Aren't we just doing that the next time or something? I'm just
True.
moving
Yeah,
on
true.
to keep
True.
it rolling, I guess.
Keep
Oh
it
shit.
rolling.
Why am I in combat?
Ja, der er så stealth
There's a
boy.
stealth guy.
Fordi nu fandt jeg den der quest, og jeg reddede en prinsesse fra en stor abe.
Confused Slurpee. Oh no.
Præcis. Det var
I'm in danger.
I'm in danger.
Så sagde hun sådan lidt, du har befriet mig, og jeg har fundet den her mystical flame, og du skal
Nice,
lave den
nice.
bedste mad i verden, du kan.
Then
Og
I'll
maden, jeg
drink
skal
real
lave,
quick.
er 4 rum tom topper surprise, og 2 goldthorn tea, og 16 baked salmon.
Oh yeah, please
Baked
do
salmon
remove those
kan
poisons. They
fiske op,
last 2
den,
minutes
hvor
and they
den
deal
kan
a lot of
lave-
damage.
Den der run tom topper surprise, det er et recipe, der kun dropper i en dungeon. Og det er en dungeon, der ikke er mange, der gider at løbe. Men som flere og flere begynder at lave det her quest, begynder det godt.
Chunk is taking a nap.
Det er recipe til at lave det mad der.
Åh,
Hvis der er nok, hvis der er nogen, der har
Ricky,
lyst, kan man selvfølgelig bare få
You're
dem til
not
at lave
drinking.
noget.
Wait, what? It didn't make that animation.
Men, nej, det kan man vist ikke, fordi
It's
No,
in
what is
the
it, right?
I don't remember. Oh, yeah, it's right here.
run tom topper.
You know, like, look at the phone when you're taking a shit, and then you got the phone for a minute longer.
He's enjoying
Nice
that.
drink of break.
Just makes
Okay, man
sense.
finder dem i sådan nogle pots inde i Diamond.
Yeah, I was just like reading some Discord thread while
Så der skal du Diamond East for at slå
I was
ham der ihjel,
thinking,
der
you know.
dropper recipeen, og så skal man
Mhm.
finde maden, og så skal man
I'm
lave
not just
de der
looking at the
surprise,
number go
man
up,
kan
you know what I'm saying?
tage med ind. Så det er vi ved at prøve at finde ud af.
Okay, yeah, so the new strength totem is 23 strength.
Oh,
It's kind of nice.
That is not bad at all.
that's really good for our group.
Det er
Mhm.
faktisk sjovt.
Have a lot of strength users.
A lot of strong boys.
Mm-hmm. Chunky fellas. They sunder you, just so you know. You have 4 or 5 at the moment.
Okay. 600 armor left. We don't need to kill those on the side, right?
No.
Just go.
No, probably not.
I don't remember this dungeon very well, to be honest.
Me neither.
I remember this Mario part.
Talk right a little bit.
You don't even have to do it, right? You can do...
Yeah, you don't need to do it. You can, there's another shortcut that's even easier.
Yeah.
You just come here,
This way, right?
then you jump over. Wow.
Oh shit.
Speedrun tactics. Let's go. Charge.
Well, let's kill these two on the side.
Yeah.
We're gonna pull these, right? Here. Oh, just one. Nice. Yeah, two.
Just two. Nice.
KO.
Too chunky. Can't get through. You also don't have to kill all the neutral turtles, as far as I know.
Nope, don't need to.
Bro, they drink. Drink faster, you piece of shit.
Chuck it down.
Man, looks good going in.
This guy has high ass armor, boys. Gotta watch out.
Oh yeah, that's good.
If he doesn't do anything, right? Was it some poison or some shit he does? Oh, wait, you poisoned him. How do you guys poison?
Oh, the dagger.
And the
Oh!
classic bear.
My dagger poison.
Oi!
Oi, mate!
Get that turtle in line, bro!
Mate.
You got some sweet mail drops here.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
God, what an easy boss. Like, holy shit.
But like, if we didn't have spell damage, they would take fucking ages. Oh, that's decent, right?
I have the big one from SFK, so I don't need it.
Which way now?
And I bought one before, so I'm good on that.
There's also some shit over here. Or is that only Alliance quest, or what?
That was Alliance, yes.
Alright, so let's just go forward here.
No, there's a
There's
horde
the-
quest here too, right?
Oh,
There's a
wait.
side boss.
That gives a wand.
There's a boss up here.
Okay.
I didn't see
Okay.
the game.
He's
A
evading
Naga
me.
boss.
Or I have to go in the water.
Wait, really? Nagas should be able to fucking get out of water. Weird.
Alright, I'm hitting it now.
Did we just go south, or I didn't really catch it?
Where we're pinging now.
Not south.
Oh, okay.
There is a Naga boss up here. We must kill all of the ladies.
Murder them.
Sea witches.
Imagine being low on breath and then getting rooted. Or just. Uh-oh. Dispel? Please?
Someone? Oh. I'm drowning. Yes.
Should have been underwater cow, not space cow. What a shame. Sea cow. Fuck. I fucked it up.
It's more up like north.
we get into this video, Game of Thrones isn't just another TV show to me. This is my favorite show and IP really ever. I've watched Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon multiple times. I've read the books. Hell, I even have a Daenerys Targaryen tattoo on my arm. This show means a lot to me, so just keep that in mind if I get a little heated when we get into the juicy stuff. Anyway, in 2011, we were blessed with Game of Thrones, a show that really went above and beyond and became a pop culture phenomenon and was often crowned as the best show in the world. When you were tuning into an episode of Game of Thrones, you knew that you were in for a good time. When you heard this, you knew that you were about to sit through 45 minutes to an hour of the best TV you'd ever seen. It was a show about, well, the Game of Thrones in Westeros, with several houses plotting and scheming their way to the throne, each character perfectly placed in the story to serve their purpose. Many of those characters extremely hard to read, allowing backstabbing, plotting, and scheming in a political sense to be the core of the show. And with all this political squabbling between houses taking place, there was a threat in the distance looming over everything beyond the wall, which would ramp up with each individual season. Like, you were just hooked. You were always anticipating what the threat beyond the wall would entail for Westeros. But you stayed and you kept coming back for that political aspect of the show. It balanced fantasy with drama extremely well. Game of Thrones quickly gained a reputation where no character in the show was safe. Anyone could die at any time, regardless of their importance to the story, the actor playing the character. It didn't matter because plot armor in early Game of Thrones days did not exist. If a character was in grave peril, there was a fair chance that they would die. It didn't matter if it was a man, a woman, a child, or even a freaking baby. This show never pulled any punches with the notion that no character is safe, which is something the later seasons dismissed very quickly despite desperate attempts to recreate it. Now, there were and still are many aspects of Game of Thrones that made it the biggest and best show in the world for multiple years. Yeah, you can point to the story, the world building, but for me, what kept me engaged with this show was the characters. The characters of Game of Thrones are some of the best ever created. When I think of my top 5 TV show characters of all time, I think probably 4 of the top 5 come from this show. Those being Tywin Lannister, Jaime Lannister, Tyrion Lannister, and Daenerys Targaryen. Yes, I know some of those characters had their entire arcs assassinated in the later seasons, but we'll get to that later, don't worry. But watching these characters in those early seasons grow and evolve was worth tuning in for in of itself. Seeing Tyrion go from a smart but lust-filled outcast of his family to an essential player in the Game of Thrones was so satisfying. Seeing Jaime go from a despicable piece of shit that gets a little too friendly with his sister to someone who would lay down his life to save people, and as we find out, was someone who did commit an act which saved millions despite the negative stigma his actions branded upon him, which helped flesh out why he was the way he was. The thing is though, there wasn't just a handful of well-written and thought out characters drawn from the source material. There were literally dozens of them, and the show was cast so incredibly well. Charles Dance as Tywin, Aidan Gillen as Littlefinger, Peter Dinklage as Tyrion. It was just phenomenal casting. I still look back on those early days of Game of Thrones, and there is one word that can describe the show almost better than any other, and that word is balance. This show had an absurd amount of characters to balance and weave through its intricate story. You had Daenerys over in the east, the Starks in Winterfell, the heart of the political side of the show in King's Landing, the Wall, the Eyrie, Dragonstone, the Iron Islands, with each location featuring multiple mainline characters. It became apparent to me pretty quickly how well they managed to balance dozens of key characters across such a massive show, and it still impresses me when I rewatch it to this day. A major part of how the early seasons struck this balance was due to the formula in which the episodes were made. We'd get 5 to 10 minutes in a certain location, and then 5 to 10 minutes somewhere else, and by the episode's end, we've basically caught up with all the characters and progressed their story in some way. There was no filler. Every single episode mattered. Despite spending small amounts of time with each character in each episode, the show was smart in how it threaded everything together. The main King's Landing plot bled into the subplot in Winterfell. It even reached across the sea and connected with Daenerys in Essos, with assassins coming after her at Robert Baratheon's request. So although these characters were split up for the majority of the show, the narrative remained consistent with all of them. Everything was separated but still tied together perfectly. And as the seasons progressed, these stories would overlap overlap and lead to incredible moments. I think back to Baelor in Season 1 where Ned Stark died, or the Reigns of Castamere, aka The Red Wedding, which I still think might be the best episode of television I've ever seen. What was great about these moments was they were all earned. The show never went for shock value for the sake of it. When TV shows in 2024 tend to trend, it's because of a cameo or some form of nostalgia bait. Game of Thrones never needed that because the writing was so smart, the characters were so rich, and every major beat of the story was earned. The highs of this show were just unlike anything we see today. Some of my favorite moments from this show are the smaller dialogue exchanges between these characters. Like Robert and Cersei talking about their marriage was somehow one of the best scenes of the first season. Also, basically any scene where Littlefinger and Varys were trying to get one up over the other, like the iconic Chaos is a Ladder scene. Tywin making every single person in the room seem smaller regardless of who they were. Even a king, he was always the person in control. And basically any minor dialogue scene with Oberyn in Season 4. Like, this show didn't need those big headline moments for it to stand out, although it definitely has them. But I often find that the gold of this show was found in those smaller moments like the ones I listed. And there are countless others as well. Now, I'd be remiss to ignore the 4th season of this show, which is basically where this portion of the video ends. Season 4 of Game of Thrones is, in my opinion, the best single season of television ever created. Everything from the build-up to the eventual battle at the wall with the Night's Watch and the Wildlings, to the death of Joffrey and all the drama that ensues surrounding his death with Tyrion's trial and Oberyn coming to King's Landing, every single scene felt purposeful. The writing was so smart. The dialogue was perfect. Everything weaved together to create incredible moments. One of the best episodes of the show is Tyrion's trial, where it's just a trial. Tyrion demanding a trial by combat to just stick it to Tywin gives me chills to this day. The sad thing about Season 4 of Game of Thrones, though, is it basically signified the peak of the show in a quality sense. Seasons 1, 2, and 3 all built up perfectly and improved with each passing season, and then it all came to a head in Season 4 where majority of the show's greatest moments take place. I like to look at the story of Game of Thrones' downfall through one particular character, that being Tywin Lannister. When he's in the show, Game of Thrones was perfect. When he wasn't in the show, the cracks opened and things started to trend downwards. The downfall of Game of Thrones is pretty frustrating, it must be said. Frustrating in the sense that it was a small decay over the course of multiple seasons until it really fell off a cliff. Because it's not as if Season 4 ended and then the show just became awful. Far from it, in fact. Seasons 5 and 6 of Game of Thrones are still great seasons of television, make no mistake, but by Game of Thrones standards, there was an undeniable drop-off in the writing. Season 5 of Game of Thrones was definitely a noticeable drop-off from the previous 4 seasons though, yet it still had many moments that I would consider to be the best in the show, such as Hardhome, Theon saving Sansa, Cersei's Walk of Atonement, Dany riding Drogon for the first time, and some other moments too. But it became clear that there was evidence of a decline. The King's Landing plot became the worst of all of them with the Faith Militant. The show would often stagnate when we had to listen to the High Sparrow say the same thing over and over again. You also had characters such as Littlefinger starting to make questionable choices that would later result in his death in Season 7. For example, he betrays Sansa and aligns himself with the Boltons, who the North hates, and also don't have Tywin's backing anymore because he's dead. And this is the first domino to fall that leads to his death. Like, it's so dumb. One of, if not the smartest characters in the show's death is rooted in a writing oversight, which is really frustrating. You also had Sir Barristan dying for some reason at the hands of the Sons of the Harpy. This character had so much more to offer, and his death came off as a desperate attempt to keep the whole nobody is safe notion from the earlier seasons and to have some action because action equals good, apparently. It didn't feel like an earned death through the writing. This character needed to stick around for the sake of Daenerys' character. So Barristan is the only real link Dany had to Rhaegar and the Mad King. Wouldn't this character be literally ideal to have around when you went for the Mad Queen arc that you rushed in the later seasons? I guess not. Like, what a waste of potential.
Yo, I'll shoot the one on
Yeah,
Serpy.
perfect.
It's invalid target for some reason.
That's demons.
There are you can
Oh
see
shit,
demons.
okay. Cool, I'm just deep sync. I can decurse Space Cow. I have no mana for decurse. I don't even know if decrease is worth right
Is
now.
a patrol coming?
Yep. Let's pull it back because more of the Shadow Stalker might come up.
Quasi, you need a new weapon buff. It ran off.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let me drink.
Washed up shaman player. I need to rebuff.
Yeah.
This is the highest level shaman I've ever played. I had a shaman once before, and I died getting the turn mill for the water quest.
And then you stopped.
That quest is way too high level for a attempt right when you get it.
Yeah, you shouldn't do it at level 20, but I would say like 22. You can definitely do it at 22. I
did the turn mill at like 21, and then I didn't do Ashen Veil. I still have that left.
We're ready to
The
go.
Ashen Veil is
Stick to the right.
kind of chill, right?
Can I pull?
Yeah, if it's not a big pool, go.
I have no idea. There might be stealth mobs.
I just continue
They're
drinking.
going
it's
to
fine.
be stealth mobs. Oh. Just two. We'll just kill one.
Yeah, there's stealth mobs all up in this area up until you reach the murlocs.
And you can't sap demons, right?
No.
Damn.
Need
Demon
that
straight
warlock.
showing.
They're loving the demon life.
Or hunter. Hunter would work just fine.
Oof, the purchase. But don't worry, the mage is occupied with drinking. Wait, so you have now 2 chance on a hit effects on your weapons? Like they're both chance on hit?
Which way?
Yeah.
Just continue forward, or?
Yeah, we gotta go straight in, but pull those out. Let's. You want to kill these 2 mobs on the left?
Yeah.
Just for safety. We're not dying in here.
famous
No chippy
last
going on.
words.
Sorry, what?
Famous last words? You're not dying in here.
I'm not dying in here.
Not
I'm out of
any
mana,
of
I'm
you
out.
guys.
Gonna Susan's pushing out.
See ya. You could just start leveling tomorrow, re-leveling.
Pull that ass out. Pull them all out.
Oh, big 274.
Nice.
Damn.
Was that backstab?
It's
He's
the
evading on Holy Slurp, coming to the water.
Oh.
It's the stealthed one. I forgot what it's called.
So don't resist, I'll heal Holy.
Weird.
Here, let me get some mana after this, and let's long range pull them out.
But you
Dude,
can't
why
hit
isn't
him at
this
all?
guy dying?
Oh, what?
What the fuck? Like a boss. Big deeps, big deeps.
You're not hitting Yishi, are you? Or
Yeah.
just no animations for me?
Just to make it easy, I'll ship the one in the back.
Oh, he juked me with that lightning bolt.
Damn, no way.
The PvP master.
Yeah, the lightning bolt's hit for 16. We don't need to kick it.
Yeah, and then he gets the heal
Oh,
off.
shit. Just kick the heals, yeah.
Yeah. Just like,
Nice counterspell.
Pro mage player.
guess let's get this oracle on the side here.
I'll sheep the one in the bag if they all pull.
I'll take this one.
Nice.
Yeah, this is a good room to clear the whole way.
Yeah. Fucking Murlocs. Can you fear demons? Yes, right?
So not
yes.
that are immune, but I don't remember if demons are immune.
I think it's just undead.
So let's go like that.
Even the actor who played Sir Barristan was extremely frustrated by this, because characters in Game of Thrones don't die for no reason. This was the first time that it really happened. There was also a significant dumbing down of Tyrion, who was once up there as the smartest character in the show. This was the start of what led to Tyrion being just a complete moron in the later seasons. Stannis also just dies this season after hanging around at the wall, not really doing anything. And it's just extremely anticlimactic for such a cool character. Jon also dies in this season, which at face value is actually incredibly ballsy, but he's revived a few episodes later, and for no reason, considering the prince that was promised prophecy was never fulfilled. But we will get to that later, don't you worry. So whilst nothing was season 8 levels of disastrous by Game of Thrones standards, there was a dip in season 5, and season 6 pretty much followed suit, although I'd argue it's a slightly better season than season 5. Season 6 did have some pretty disappointing resolutions to certain subplots as well, such as Arya's time in Bravos. It kind of just came to a whimpering end after some really ridiculous plot armor. And speaking of plot armor, this is where it really started to become a problem in this show. You could argue it started in season 5 when the White Walker throws Jon around instead of just killing him, sure. But Arya getting stabbed multiple times by the waif and being fine was just ridiculous. And then there's the whole Battle of the Bastards plot armor, which has kind of become legendary at this point. It's one of the best episodes of the show, make no mistake, but the plot armor is insane. And the finale episode, The Winds of Winter, has one of the best openings to any episode in the history of the show, with Cersei blowing up the Sept, and finally ridding us of the Faith storyline once and for all. But let's be honest, what made this scene so great was Ramin Djawadi, the composer of the show. No matter how much Game of Thrones declined, this man always cooked, and the music was incredible. So seasons 5 and 6 of Game of Thrones aren't that bad. They've got issues, but are still pretty good TV. Season 7, on the other hand, that's a different story. Season 7 of Game of Thrones is entertaining, sure, but it is one of the dumbest seasons of TV I have ever seen. Previous staples of Game of Thrones were thrown out the window, all in the name of condensing as much as possible into a season with fewer episodes. For the first time in Game of Thrones history, Season 7 didn't stick to the 10 episode per season structure, instead opting for 7 episodes, which is fine, but this season has more major events jammed into it than the past 3 seasons combined. Yet it contains, up until that point, the least amount of episodes we'd seen in a season of this show. Like, just for fun, let's list off the major events that happen in just season 7. Arya destroys House Frey. Dany arrives in Westeros. Jon meets Dany. Jon goes beyond the wall to catch a white. Viserion is killed. Jon and Dany come face to face with Cersei. Euron and his fleet attack Theon and Yara. Joffrey's killer is revealed. The spoils of war. Tyrion and Jaime reunite for the first time since season 4. Uncle Benjen dies. Cersei's pregnant. Jon and Dany shack up. Littlefinger dies. Jon and Theon come face to face. The Stark children reunite. Jaime finally walks away from Cersei. Jon's true lineage is revealed, and the dead cross the wall. All of that happens in the shortest season to date. Game of Thrones used to have a reputation for taking its time, letting events build up, letting those character moments stew in the audience's mind. But it was like the showrunner said, well, I've done all the build up in previous seasons, let's just throw everything at the wall this season. Which I guess is is fine at face value as the groundwork had been laid for them to go balls to the wall, but all of this happens at the sacrifice of logic. Like Danny flying from Dragonstone to beyond the wall in 5 minutes as our band of heroes are stuck in the middle of a frozen lake surrounded by the dead. Absolutely nobody is buying that. The Night King opting to not kill the larger dragon with Daenerys on the back standing right in front of him, but instead opting to kill the smaller dragon flying a very far distance away in the sky. The plot armor surrounding Jaime and Bronn in the Spoils of War, characters getting from one side of Westeros to the other in a jump cut, Gendry running 7 marathons in 2 minutes, like all of this in season 7 is stupid. It is. But again, it's also entertaining as hell. And despite season 7 being incomprehensibly dumb, it does have great moments that we've been waiting to see for a long time, like Olenna's admission. This scene is amazing, 10 out of 10. The dead crossing the wall, amazing. Most of Jon and Dany's interactions, amazing. But at what cost? The cost of something that this show held dear: logic, smart writing, and time. Again, when I watch season 7, do I scoff at the stupidity? Yeah, I am. But I'm also shoving popcorn down my throat because I'm having a good time, because some of the stuff is generally great, but it signifies a massive problem with the stigma surrounding what Game of Thrones actually is. Let me explain. A major contributor to the rise of Game of Thrones is how it wasn't afraid to actually take its time in telling a complex story with rich and vibrant characters, leading to incredible payoff due to the time spent building up said story and characters. These days, as people's attention spans continue to shrink, we often see shows just cutting to the chase because large portions of audiences can't make it through an episode without Subway Surfers playing in the bottom half of their screen. Game of Thrones never cared about that. It knew its audience was mature and it treated its audience as such, at least in the early seasons. This was highlighted to me in the later Game of Thrones seasons and pretty heavily after House of the Dragon came out. Most people loved House of the Dragon and said it was a strong return to the series' roots, with it not being afraid to push the action to the back and let the politics of the show take center stage, which is exactly what Game of Thrones did in its earlier seasons. A true return to form to what made Game of Thrones so great. Yet the vast majority of people who didn't like House of the Dragon tend to form the exact same opinion. It's boring, nothing happens, it's just people talking, I want dragons. This is what happens in the modern day when a show actually takes its time in crafting a compelling story with complex characters. People get bored. I know, it's insane. It really is. Now, why am I saying all of this? Well, for some reason, people have this sick notion in their head that what made Game of Thrones so great was the big battles and the dragons, but that was just never the case. What made Game of Thrones so great and caused its meteoric rise as a pop culture phenomenon was story and characters, the political scheming and backstabbing, the Game of Thrones, the rich world set up by George R.R. Martin. The action was just the cherry on top in the penultimate episode. Game of Thrones was a political drama in its early days, but it evolved into a fantasy action show in its later seasons. And I think season 7 is a perfect example of that. It kind of lost its identity a little bit. The Game of Thrones side of Game of Thrones was always what made it so great. Figuring out a character's motivations and how it fits into the story was fascinating. Who killed Joffrey? Who did this? Who did that? Will this character do this? What is Littlefinger up to? What is Varys up to? Like, it was just must-watch TV. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying the action side of Game of Thrones sucks by any means. Like Blackwater, Watchers on the Wall, Hardhome. Incredible battle sequences and some of my favorite episodes. The point I'm trying to make is, what made this show so great was that political aspect of the show, and it's no coincidence that once that side started to fizzle out, the show started to decline. The show opted for more action and less story in the later seasons, which funnily enough, the actor that played Gendry poked fun of in an interview.
Well, that was totally what season 7 was all about, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Character development.
So it's clear that a major part of the downfall of Game of Thrones was the switch from it being a sprawling political drama to an action fantasy show. It comes back to that word I spoke about earlier, balance. Game of Thrones balanced the political aspect of the show with action perfectly, and then the later seasons tipped the scales dramatically in the action direction, and it definitely did the show no favors at all. But let's be honest, the real downfall of Game of Thrones, it came in the final season. So let's just get into it. Season 8 of Game of Thrones, and to be honest, this is probably going to take up the bulk of the video. I am honestly shocked that it has been 5 years since this season aired and Game of Thrones concluded. It's one of the main reasons I wanted to revisit it in this video. Now, I'm going to structure this part of the video going episode by episode because when I spoke about Season 8 a couple of years ago, I kind of skipped over about half the season for some stupid reason. So, Episode 1. Hear me out here. This isn't that bad at all. It's actually fine. Yes, it has some of the issues the previous seasons had, with Tyrion being reduced to making jokes about Varys not having balls, characters doing things because reasons, but things start out relatively fine. The shots of Arya and Sansa seeing a dragon for the first time are great. Theon deciding to go north to fight for the Starks. There are subtle, nice moments like Sansa and Tyrion reminiscing on the last time they saw each other being Joffrey's wedding, because it reminds us when the show was actually really good. But one thing I really don't like about what Season 8 did starts in this episode. Sansa hating Dany. It feels forced to create a divide between Jon and Daenerys. She logically doesn't have a major reason to hate Daenerys straight off the bat given the context of their situation. Sansa says it's because Jon abandoned his crown and bent the knee, and what that means for the North. But in doing so, Jon brought 2 dragons north to fight the undead, as well as the Unsullied and the Dothraki. They literally have 0 chance of winning if he didn't bend the knee. Hell, even though he did, they barely still have a chance. So why is Sansa, a character that's supposed to be smart by this point, so preoccupied with what comes after the upcoming conflict where it's almost certain that they're all going to die? Sansa's inability to grasp common sense and how it lights the fire of this conflict between Jon and Daenerys is so unnecessary. It's Benioff and Weiss trying to add fuel to the fire for when Jon's true lineage comes to light, meaning that Daenerys' crown is threatened by him. But more than anything else, this is a drawback of them rushing a Mad Queen arc in one season. They have to create as much conflict as possible with Daenerys this season to try and pull it off. And this was one of the first missteps they took. The conflict between Jon and Dany makes sense here, but Sansa not being able to grasp the situation they're in with the fight against the dead and caring more about titles than common sense is so below the quality you expect from this show and its smarter characters. Now, this episode ends with Sam telling Jon that he's the true heir to the Iron Throne as the child of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, which is a scene I actually quite like. And although it's revealed to us in earlier seasons, I do like that this scene makes it clear to Jon that Ned Stark was an honorable man, having kept that promise he had to Lyanna to keep Jon safe from Robert Baratheon. This is a rare good scene in Season 8. But moving on to Episode 2. This is kind of the calm before the storm. Much like Episode 1, it doesn't screw up majorly. Most of the episode is delegated to small moments between characters that we've been on this journey with over all these years. Now, for the most part, again, this episode doesn't do a whole lot wrong. It's fine. The Gendry and Arya stuff really wasn't needed at all, but everything else is okay for what it is. Brienne being knighted by Jaime is obviously the best part of the episode and a rare highlight of Season 8. Jaime also arriving in the north and vowing to fight for the living in front of Daenerys, the Mad King's daughter who he famously killed. It feels like a nice completion of his arc, at least for now. There's Jaime also confronting Bran and apologizing for what he did in the show's pilot, which kickstarted everything. Again, nice completion of Jaime's arc, for now. Like, they were actually treating Jaime's character with respect in this episode, and it's basically the last time they do. We also get more conflict between Sansa and Daenerys, but I kind of covered this part already when I spoke about episode 1. Jon also tells Daenerys who he really is, thus swinging into full motion the conflict between Jon and Dany, which is one of the blocks to fall that leads her to going full Mad Queen. It's a good scene, but I just wish the writing around it wasn't so contrived to help pull off this Mad Queen arc in just one season. And then, of course, the dead arrive in Winterfell. But then we have episode 3, The Long Night. This is where season 8 really started to turn into an absolute famous disaster. This was the moment that everyone had been waiting for since the opening scene of the show. All of those seasons of build-up, the ambiguous mystery surrounding the night show. This was the moment we started to turn 3, The Long Night. This is where season 8 really started to turn into an absolute famous disaster. This was the moment that everyone had been waiting for since the opening scene of the show. All of those seasons of build-up, the ambiguous mystery surrounding the Night King, the dead, all of it building up to this moment. And it's one of the most disappointing episodes of the entire show. Maybe the single most disappointing given the build-up over the entire show's run. This episode is just a mess and a perfect encapsulation of everything that went wrong in the downfall of this show. Plot lines completely abandoned. Logic just non-existent. Jon doing basically nothing. Plot armor. My god, the plot armor. It's insane to me how much they managed to get wrong in what was at the time the single biggest and most anticipated episode of the entire show. It also doesn't help that majority of the episode is that dark that you can't see a damn thing. There are a couple redeeming moments, however. One of them is the death of Theon Greyjoy. Execution-wise, the death is a little, whatever. But in terms of Theon's arc as a whole, this is actually a perfect death for him. Dying defending the Starks at Winterfell given the insane journey he's been on since he betrayed them. It's actually good writing. Where was this for everything else and all the other characters? I have no idea. But at least Theon Greyjoy's character made it through Game of Thrones without being totally butchered. So that's a positive of this episode, if there is any. The music must also be complimented. The only thing that made the Night King's death even bearable to sit through was Ramin Djawadi's score. Again, no matter how low this show got, this guy just kept on cooking. But let's talk about the Night King. This is the most disappointing end to an antagonist I have ever seen in a movie or a show. The iconic scene in episode 5 at Hardhome where he raises his arms and all the dead with it is one of the most iconic shots in television history. The presence this guy had as a looming threat in this world despite never saying a word was mind-blowing. And this is the end goal for this character. And he just kind of lingers around, looks at Jon, takes 5 minutes to walk up to Bran, and then gets killed by Arya. Like, I still can't wrap my head around how disappointing this is. Like, at worst, the end goal of this episode needed to be Jon killing the Night King. Not just because that's what fans wanted, but that's what you've been building up for multiple seasons. Jon's true lineage, the prince that was promised prophecy, Melisandre bringing him back from the dead for a greater purpose, the shots established between Jon and the Night King over the course of the show. All of that just completely thrown out the window because you wanted to subvert expectations and give Arya something to do. This is the biggest writing fumble I have ever seen in any form of entertainment. Nothing about this makes any sense and is completely unjustifiable. It's not like Jon was really doing anything. thing at this moment either. He was just pinned down behind a rock because that's what all the build-up was for, I guess. Like, are you kidding me? The dagger used to kill the Night King, that makes sense, but the person wielding it makes no sense from a logic standpoint, a writing standpoint, nothing. This moment feels more like a moment of self-sabotage for the writers than anything. There's nothing fulfilling about this at all. And it must also be said, the sheer lack of logic in this episode is just staggering. Like the battle tactics with the Dothraki just charging the enemy head on, our heroes on the front line surviving being literally engulfed by a wave of the dead, Jon surviving being surrounded by hundreds of the dead, the women and children seeking refuge in a crypt when your enemy literally raises people from the dead, subverting expectations for no reason, characters being hugged by whites instead of being killed. Like, it just doesn't stop. This episode was and still is just insulting to every person who watched a second of this show. But let's move on to episode 4, The Last of the Starks. Because by this point, the season has just completely derailed. We get a funeral sequence burning the Fallen from the Battle of Winterfell. Dany burning Jorah was a nice small moment in an otherwise awful episode. During the celebrations of the battle, it's clear that the show shifts its focus to what lies ahead with Cersei in the south, and you can't help but feel like the season is going by stupidly fast. The battle with the dead should have been a season long.
Exhaust mind blast right there.
So, you guys, it looks like you're soon done with the Black Fathom Depths.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to do a raid on another server after, so I'm not there for dungeons.
Okay, but do anyone want to tank Darmal East? Looking at Shelly, looking at
It's fucking cool.
Shelly.
Oh, nice.
That's a very nice one. I'll take that.
Get the head of Calriss, boys.
Oh yeah, looted that shit.
Yeah, do we want to kill the 4 candles and see?
Yeah.
I'm down. If you have time. Perhaps
Oh, you
nice
don't have
pant at
time,
the
right?
end.
It's 29.
Yeah, but like the raid is starting soon, but I think I might be able to be semi-slacking for 10 minutes.
Let's go.
Yeah, start opening one at a time. Yeah, I'll open. Bring left.
What do we get? Okay, we got the turtles
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it was
let's do the east side first. I'll shoot the one in the back. Try not to pull that right side.
Long event, and then Cersei in another season, and the fact that it was all crammed into season 8 is just ridiculous, to be honest. The fact Benioff and Wise refused to spread it out logically and decided to cram everything into one season still is one of the biggest fumbles I have ever seen. Season 8 of Game of Thrones sucks because these two boneheads wanted to hurry up and work on something that never even happened. It just makes me want to Tommen out the window. Anyway, we do get some small character moments such as the Hound and Sansa speaking again, and along with Theon, the Hound is one of the rare few characters that this season didn't ruin, so any scenes with him work for me. We then get more conflict with Dany and Jon. Jon says McQueen and I don't want it about 35 times, which from here on out is about the extent of his dialogue, so you know, rest in peace to one of the best characters in the show, I guess. In this episode, Bran also drops one of the single dumbest lines of the entire show, that as the Three-Eyed Raven, he doesn't want anymore, which contradicts the finale, but we'll get to that later. Bronn also shows up so we can be reminded that Bronn is still around and actually in this season. This scene virtually serves no purpose at all until the last minute of the show, and yet it still doesn't really matter anyway. But the thing this episode does that really annoys me, well, there's a couple things to be honest, but the first of them is when Jon reveals his true identity to Sansa and Arya. This is a massive moment, huge in the context of the season and of the show as a whole and the entire journey we've been on with these characters. And instead of, I don't know, showing us that moment, they decide to cut away so we don't get to see any reaction at all. What the frack? This pisses me off to no end. Like, what were they thinking, man? Now, most of the main cast then heads south for the upcoming conflict in King's Landing, hoping for a swift surrender from Cersei, but along the way, the Iron Fleet ambush them and Rhaegal is killed in one of the most infamous moments of the entire show. 5 minutes before this, when discussing their plans, the Iron Fleet is literally mentioned, and in the writer's own words,
Dany kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and Euron's forces.
that was their excuse, so the plot point of Rhaegal being killed can happen with some of the worst writing I have ever seen. This scene establishes that the Scorpions are beyond deadly to dragons, as they nail 3 Scorpion shots in a row whilst Rhaegal is flying, whilst they're also shooting them from a boat. Yes, the writing is awful because of the fact this situation even happened, but keep this in mind for the end of the episode. We then cut back to Winterfell to see the climax of Jaime and Brienne's 6-season-long arc. And Jaime just up and leaves to run back to Cersei now that the fight against the undead is won. This season completed his arc by having him go north to fight for the living, walking away from Cersei once and for all. And then after the battle, he hits it with Brienne and then pieces out and throws his entire arc out the window. He says to Bran in episode 2 of this same season that he's not the person that pushed Bran out the window anymore. And then after fully redeeming himself, he gets post-nut clarity and says he's done bad things for Cersei and she's hateful, so is he. Like, this makes no sense. But we'll get to Jaime again later because they're actually not done with completely destroying this character just yet. The final moments of episode 4 are honestly amongst the dumbest of the entire season and signify how bad the writing became in this show. Remember 15 minutes ago when Rhaegal was 3-tapped from a million miles away by Scorpions? Well, now they have an entire wall full of them and Drogon is sitting on the ground, yet they choose not to fire any of them. Keep in mind, these are supposed to be surrender discussions. Qyburn even says in the negotiating that Dany's last dragon is vulnerable, and it's clear that if Drogon dies, that's the only chance Cersei has of winning. So why not just shoot Drogon here? Will it result in a battle? Yeah, but one without a dragon. It's the fairest odds Cersei will have. And it's not like you can make the excuse that Cersei is being noble at the peace discussions because she lies to Jon and Dany's face at the end of season 7 when she says she'll send Lannisters north to help them fight the dead, which is an act so bad that it finally caused Jaime to leave her. So she clearly has no trouble with being a complete scumbag at the negotiating table. So why not just kill Drogon here and level the odds? He's right there. Oh, that's right, because the writing this season is god-awful and makes no sense. So instead of doing that, Cersei kills Missandei right in front of Dany after refusing to kill Tyrion for absolutely no reason. Now Dany's mad with a fully able dragon. What a absolute disaster of an episode. But episode 5, The Bells, is perhaps the most infamous episode of them all. Jon's super extensive and thought-provoking dialogue just continues once again.
She is my queen.
Jon and Dany's conflict also continues to grow because Sansa told Tyrion about who Jon really is. Remember that groundbreaking news that we didn't get to see? Yeah, great. Well, Tyrion knows and has now told Varys, and Varys obviously has a problem with it. Because Varys is the only character in this season that actually has some common sense. So of course, the now absolutely batshit dumb Tyrion snitches on Varys, resulting in our favorite eunuch becoming a crispy boy. The only character this season who ever says anything that actually makes sense is now gone. We then find out that Dany's forces captured Jaime before he entered King's Landing, resulting in one of the most insulting scenes of the entire show. This scene has been memed into oblivion because of its sheer stupidity, throwing away Jaime's entire arc like it's nothing and completely ruining one of the best scenes in the show when Jaime, in a vulnerable moment, explains why he killed the Mad King. Well, yeah, that's just completely out the window now. Way to ruin one of the most compelling arcs from one of the best characters of the entire show. You did a great job, Benioff and Wise. Like, how can you have a character say he never cared for the innocent or otherwise of King's Landing when that character is built on the foundations of the act he did to save those very same people? But he just doesn't care according to Season 8 logic. Like, it's complete character assassination, and it's literally unforgivable. We then get the massive battle of King's Landing, and I say battle, but it's basically Dany's army just destroying the Lannisters because, well, Dany still has a dragon because of the dogshit writing of episode 4. Not to mention the Dothraki that were essentially wiped out in the Battle of Winterfell have somehow managed to magically respawn and take out the Golden Company. So the Golden Company were just completely useless, so, you know, just more great writing, really. Drogon also clears all of the Scorpions in King's Landing despite the fact they were OP as hell against Rhaegal 1 episode prior. But plot armor and bad writing are mainstays of this show now, so they're literally useless in this entire battle despite being the most OP thing ever in the previous episode. Great writing. The Lannister army then surrenders as, no surprise, they can't beat Dany's army and a dragon, so the bells have been rung, Daenerys has won, all is good. Except it's not, because we have to do the Mad Queen arc whether or not it makes any sense. Despite a victory, Daenerys unexplainedly snaps and burns King's Landing to the ground, leveling the entire city and just about everyone in it. Now, production-wise, this is incredibly impressive, I have to say. The visuals here are amazing, and the VFX artists, they absolutely crushed this. It looks great, but the writing around it is so unforgivable. The Mad Queen arc, I don't hate it. In fact, I think if they actually took their time wrapping up this story across 2 or 3 seasons, it may have actually been possible. But you simply cannot pull an arc this dramatic off in just 5 episodes. You simply cannot justify Dany changing that much in that short of a time frame. There is no logical way you can defend Dany's Mad Queen arc in Season 8. It is simply too rushed. Again, that's coming from someone who actually doesn't mind Dany's end goal being a Mad Queen arc. But this is not how you do it. This is the complete opposite of how you do it. Like, even at face value, there is no reason for Daenerys to snap in this moment. Maybe if they saved Rhaegal's death for this moment, or Missandei's death for an inciting incident to cause Dany to level the city, but there is literally nothing here but victory. And in the final episode, Jon actually tries to justify this moment due to Rhaegal and Missandei's deaths. So why not tie those 2 events into this moment as an inciting incident? Because she just snaps in a moment of triumph, which makes no sense. It is maybe the most dumbfounding moment of the entire show. Now, amongst the rubble of King's Landing, we do get Clegane Bowl, which brings the Hound's character.
Could I get a summon again?
I might need. Yeah, I'm still in the Spulcher as well.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, okay, let's just fly to Undercity. No, whatever, we'll do it another time. I'll just fly to Undercity.
Go back.
Get a port. I can port
I'm
us
gonna
there.
go Thunder Bluff first.
Well, you had to hand in Thunder Bluff?
No, I'm at Crossroads going to Thunder Bluff to turn in the wand quest.
Ooh.
Oh, look at that wand damage. Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm taking Blitzloner to Undercity. If you also want to go to a different town, Ishi.
Yeah, that works. Moist.
That's fucking easy, honestly.
I know, right?
Shelley, do you have time, or do you want to tank Damal East?
I can do that. I'll be done. So, yeah, we're done. We're done here.
Right.
So you guys, are you? Am I number 5?
Yeah, exactly. Like I got Grub and Karacha and Vikram, so.
Okay.
Nice.
I will ping.
Is it on the same account, or should I still wait for you for the portal?
This one is actually on the same account, but I already clicked the fly to Undercity. But no, I would not. Don't wait up for me. I'm just gonna log off when I land, get going with them since they're all there. I'm good. I got sweaty summons in Orgrimmar anyways.
Oh yeah, you can summon, right?
Someone will you
That doesn't
where?
matter. No, I'm
Don't
already
tell
doing
me
it.
you all over the world.
Where do you want to go, bro?
Where do you want to go, baby girl?
Baby girl. I see the world, slave.
What's the next dungeon? Stockades!
Oh yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be a shit show getting there. We'll see.
Guess we can't skip stockades. So what do we need an alliance warlock? Does anyone
I
have
have
an
that.
alliance?
I have that.
Oh shit.
Was it Thunderbluff? Yes, right. The quest. Yeah, and then but it's on the same account as Slurpee, so I have to summon in another warlock who can then summon Slurpee. It's kind of cringe.
Kind of cringe.
But if at that point, if you're summoning in a safe spot, you could summon Horde warlock.
Yeah,
If
Yeah,
I'm
that's
summon
what I said.
anybody.
Yeah. I can also summon you, of course. That's safer than summoning
yeah.
than a level 20 warlock. Yeah, I'll just summon you then.
Remember that one time I summoned Loner into
Yeah. Yeah, I remember
the
very
guard
clearly.
town? We all just started freaking out, running around like.
Because I had no mana, like literally
Yeah.
no mana. That's great. Mage without no mana being surrounded by 4 guards. Good times. On your main account. Or main character. Baby.
Feels good, man.
Feels good, man.
Big stockades.
I can't believe how easy this shit was, though. God, we're strong.
Dominated. I mean, we got like a pretty solid party.
Yeah, for sure.
Shaman is just really, really good support. Like when everything else lines up.
Yeah.
And you dealt the most damage, I saw.
I thought might have been just for the boss. I doubt that's
No.
for like.
Damage done. That's overall thing, right?
Bro, I opened up.
Yeah. It's 88k. Absolutely, it's overall.
Huh.
I opened up 3 clams, got 3 pearls.
Pearl diver right there. Jesus. Ooh, I also got a healing potion. Nice.
Fucking new Wando, bro, would be strong as fuck.
Where is it? The hand in? And is it Elder Rise and shit?
Yep.
Yeah, and mage. Wait, what the fuck? So Shaman is already falling off at level like 24. Wow. He was actually the lowest DPS.
Yeah, but he's support. Remember.
Yeah, but not gear-wise. He's
He's
full
dropping
damage.
Tremor totems. He's dropping Strength of Earth totem.
Oh yeah. He's bringing.
Like,
I'm not saying. I'm just. Yeah, of course.
He's Earthshocking, but Earthshock was huge deeps. So like.
Yeah, but it's already falling off. Like in the start, I'm pretty sure if you check the RFC and shit like that, he would probably do most damage by far.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Shams are
He'll
just
pick back up when he
insanely.
gets Wind Fury.
Yeah, but for like 5 levels, then it drops off again.
This doesn't become fun.
Hello.
No, actually, it might be pretty strong. It was
Wind
just kind of
Fury?
booty cheeks because you're comparing it to like a fully decked out warrior when we were
True.
dual leveling.
True, that was. It felt so bad though. Oh my god.
But like just normal deeps.
Yeah, maybe okay. I
Spells
think
are
level
gonna
40
be
is
more.
pretty shit though. Like people respec at level 40 normally because of that, I think. But yeah, like the fact, like it's all he's also boosting your guys' damage with Earth Totem, right?
The strength one.
Yeah. Strength Earth. It's something with Earth. Whatever. What's it called?
Yeah,
Strength with Earth.
heals, poison cleansing.
Why Why is there only one boss in Stockade? What's going on?
No, there are a lot of bosses.
No one drops
oh.
loot. There's
But they
2
don't drop
bosses.
loot, yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah, I think it's mostly a quest thing. But you're saying only one of them drops loot?
It's also a tiny dungeon. It's gonna take like 30 minutes. Like.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? Damn, I was really excited for Stockade. I've never done that shit before.
Did we discuss if
Okay.
we could do the Ashenvale quest? Is that ethical?
What
No,
Ashenvale
that's not
quest?
ethical.
The what is it called? The one where you get a blue.
Oh, they're blue?
You can't. Well, we can't do that one
Yeah, unless you wanna.
because we have.
Kill engineering.
Well, we have no. We did. We said no professions. So,
Unless you wanna
Yeah, I
go meet
guess.
someone in the wild that might have those on them, and then they just give it to you for free.
It just happened naturally, bro.
Happen naturally.
Here you go, all 5 of them. One for
Yeah, you made
Trust me,
5
bro.
extra.
Trust me.
Anyone leveling engineering?
It's funny you should say that.
But really, so do you happen to be at Crossroads in like 2 hours? I'm joking.
With 5 of the rifles.
Yeah. This was not a coordinated thing, just if anyone asks.
He fell and they just fell out of his bag and he picked him up.
And it was so low level shit that he couldn't be bothered picking it up again. He was like, here, you can take it. Yeah, thanks. Goddamn, almost got a level. Holy fuck. It's so quick leveling like this, what the fuck?
Anyone giving away free boon sticks on World Chat? I'll take one. Shit. If they're giving it away, shit.
Oh my god.
No, for the leather shoes is goated, I feel like, and then you could put the little minor speed on it, you know. Then we're then we're Gucci. Go level 40.
Oh god. I guess we also just do Stockades of 25. No, we have to do another BFD, I guess.
But Stargates, it's really easy, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
another
you also-
BFD for show.
we definitely need another BFD.
Oh, show, indeed.
Haven't done Stargates in many years, but I remember it being super easy, right?
It's kind of fun. I enjoy it. You can get pretty good pulls in there. You can also fuck up if you're under leveled and way over pull. So that's gonna be risky for you guys.
Okay.
Looks like there's a rare in the stockades we could try to get.
Oh, true.
Although,
Except, of course, we're Horde, right? And we're stepping outside into where the guards. I'm not sure how many guards there are.
I don't think you get aggro, right? Like,
Yeah,
right
probably not.
outside.
Except those times when there's the revolt or whatever.
Hello there.
Hello. Thank you for coming and healing.
You're welcome. I've been online a bit today. Been busy during the week with preparations and everything.
Same.
Yeah, no changes to the healer situation for tomorrow. You guys are gonna have a really rough time for the raid. I'm just gonna enter the back door and log out to get to the main entrance faster.
Yeah. Damn, I'm down to 3 gold right now. Must have spent a lot.
No, that is quite low.
Yeah. Like on this card, I got them all in my bank.
Yeah, okay, then you're fine. Then you're fine.
Hello, Vikram.
Hey.
Hello, Ray.
Hello. Can we do the key?
Yeah, like that was my plan to since we're already here, and we need to kill the guy, the imp that you need for the key. We might as well do the quest for the key. Do you have that quest on you?
Yeah, I don't think you need a quest for the key.
It's not a quest for the key, and it's the other. Well, never mind.
Yeah, he just.
Oh shit! I'm on the wrong entrance.
The imp just always drops it. Yeah, man, I guess that's. So we're gonna do the main entrance then?
Yeah, yeah, because we need I need to do the imp. So and you need to talk to him from the main entrance.
Do you mean that I get the quest inside the camp, or is it north of the camp?
I'll just go pick it up.
If it's the puzzle in an elder the Thoradin quest, I have it.
You have the puzzling quest?
Yeah, I mean it's a nation faction neutral quest, so it should be shareable.
But
I shared the wrong one.
Yeah, that one.
I
Okay.
linked the wrong one.
Great. I just need the. I think somebody else shared it. The Thundrich whips, but the Wickham got that one, so that's fine. I see he's also up to picking the other one up.
And where the fuck did I place my wallet? There's my wallet.
Oh, and if somebody has a major healing potion, I apparently used up all mine doing PvP. I just noticed now. So just in case, I would like to have one.
Sure. PvP is real.
Yeah. Like fighting against Scrub, you need all the edges you can get.
Viking's gonna go back door.
I have 4 diagonal quests.
Wow.
Hello, Crop. So, are you gonna kill us just like you killed Sumiaki?
Shots fired.
Nah, I'm just messing with you, man. It's just I saw the video where he followed behind you and aggroed the dog and aggroed everything.
think he followed Naji, if I'm not mistaken.
Oi! And it's Naji we need to look out for.
Yeah, I think I could have done better on that. I literally turned around probably right before he aggroed because I ran through first, and then I turned around. I was like, it looked like everything lined up, so I turned back forward.
I don't think there's anything you could have done differently, to be honest.
Nah, there wasn't. There definitely wasn't. Damn, Grand Marshal staff.
Gotta go big.
And the dagger. Holy smokes.
It's the DPS on that staff. He probably whacked some people in the head.
I didn't even see what the DPS was.
Are you guys at the dungeon, ready to go?
We're standing next to you.
9.3.
Yeah, I'm not at the computer.
Oh, we're just waiting for Vikram to show up. Nacho, could you share the Thunderous quest? Thank you.
I'm still working on my packing. Yeah, that doesn't work.
When I run in, I go to the right. Correct?
Yeah.
No. No. You're not going to go to the right.
I'm not?
No. That's the back entrance. We can come back, but no, we're gonna go front entrance.
I go left?
You just need to go to the big main area.
You go right. You go right. I think you guys are talking about different locations. You should see us on the minimap with Wickham.
Yeah. So just go to the big main area.
On the map.
Oh, okay.
So haven't you done a Time Wall before?
20 years ago, yeah, sure.
Ah, okay. Being a bit rusty.
Right, let's start this backpack.
So where are you going, Karaja?
I'm going to the highest mountain in my country and gonna climb it.
Hooray!
Nice.
So I'm going for quite a bit of hiking and after that climbing and then going straight back home.
Great. But we're all here and we're inside.
Yep, I'm running inside now.
And apparently buffing up. Holy smokes. Oh, we were going this hard?
Always.
Yeah, I just need to trade for some water.
Hold on, we're not jumping.
Oh,
you're talking to him. Never mind.
We're doing the normal way around.
All right.
That pod is a real one. I can see it on my fine treasure.
If you want to give Nachi a lead.
So Vikram, I hope you didn't just put that sharpening stone on your axe, on your weapon.
What do you mean?
Because you can't get Wind Fury if you have sharpening stone on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
You can only have one temporary buff, and as I recall, it lasts for an hour, and you can't like undo it.
I think it's
by yourself.
30.
I was not aware.
Whoa.
Okay, the right one is below us, I guess. And that is a big pull.
Yeah.
Focus the Face Slasher first. It deals AoE shadow bolts.
Good call. Good call.
Don't worry, we're fine. We don't have the patrol here, and it's quite far away still. I'm doing a shield on you after the heal. No, I called it to be real as well, so that's my bad. It's actually right below us, so the location was very similar. So I thought it was a good one.
It's fine. I shouldn't have opened it.
No, yeah, I called it safe. Of course you should have. Either way, we're fine. It just looked bigger with all the small trash as well. Next one is a fake at least. It's not showing up on the dwarf and treasure find. We're gonna have the patrol as well, so let's focus that Face Slasher first. Baiting. Nice grenade. And the inhaling routine here is not a magic effect, so I cannot dispel it.
Oh, it's a physical effect?
No.
Interesting.
Probably because we are indoor.
Oh, yeah, right. It can't be the same spell.
That pod is also a fake.
That's pretty neat that you can actually track that.
Yeah, the same with the treasure chests in Stratholm. But you can see the real ones.
Gotta go to dwarf something.
Like, I've always wanted to play a dwarf, but like I can never, like, I want to play a dwarf that doesn't have mining or skinning or herbalism. So, well, it doesn't have mining or herbalism.
I mean,
so
you can still do it, but you can just toggle.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that. And
Me neither.
The closest I got was to make a dwarf rogue, so that I could have skinning and leatherworking, and then do that. But I got to level 16, I think, and then I didn't stop playing it.
Man.
The pod at the Face Slasher is a real one.
Did you say you mailed Shelly those things?
I did.
Okay. Cool.
I went for a grind myself for those, as I will need for the mage either way. And I found 10 in one and 7 in another one. In
nice.
like 15 tries or so.
That's the only one I needed. I did my fishing yesterday. That took a bit. I don't know if there's a better spot for it. I did it in EPO.
I did it up north here, and it took, like, I just did it right before this dungeon. It was pretty nice. But I definitely, if I need to fish more, I definitely need to get the plus 100, because plus 70 is just barely not good enough.
You have 300 fishing?
Yeah, I got 300 and plus 25 from the pole, and then plus 75 from the lure.
Yeah, I'm just screwed when I need to fish those up myself. I need to do the fishing quest first and then skill up the fishing. Most likely.
Where did you do yours? Just in...
up north next to the portal here in Ferrolas. There is like the portal with the nightmare dragons. That's where I did it.
Oh.
I probably will actually grab. But I do think I can craft them as well.
Win, do you want to give me a lead?
Oh, right, yeah, I forgot. Here you go.
I can't fish right now either way. Gonna have to do it once I'm back. But I made the mistake, I got the cooking down on the road because she's less inclined to die. as she is not raiding currently. At least that was my reasoning, and then it worked differently than I expected. So gonna have to do it either way on Liana. I should do it on Karaja as well. Thank you, Grub. Much appreciated. I might actually be able to get by with that. To fish those 16 up. Or 32.
Well,
if I count for Karaja as well.
It's my plan is to start, once I've gotten my own done, I will just start fishing a lot more, because I know a lot of people will need it, so I see an opportunity to make gold, and I will take it.
Yeah, I was like trying to figure out what that was worth. To get all that salmon, but I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna do that again. I was thinking like almost like 4 gold per salmon, but like even then, you get to the point where no one's gonna pay it, and it's not worth it for you to do it.
Oh yeah. But,
I think people will pay for that.
Like like if I know one thing about WoW, it is that everybody wants fish and everybody hates fishing.
Speak to Dum Dum. He disagrees.
Well, the thing is, like, I like fishing, but like, all my friends hate it, and all people I talk to here, like, oh, just give me the eels, I don't want to do it.
It's just that you need to fish so many of those bloody eels. I fished quite a bit in the beginning of when I started playing on this server, but when you need that many stone scale eels, it's not good enough anymore.
Yeah.
It's too slow for me.
I can't recall when you do a Flask of Titans, is that like 10 stone scale eels you need for that?
Yeah, that is fine. I don't mind fishing that.
Yeah, but it's 30 for Petri.
Yeah, and that is the issue. And you also need them for the armor potions.
Oh, right.
Thanks.
But like, I really enjoy, like, something in my mind just loved the aspect where you like take something that everybody thought useless, and suddenly, like the Petri, it's a useless flask, it's waste of materials, never make it, and suddenly it's the best item in the game. And it's the same with the Makara. Like, all my time in Classic, people said, never make the Arcanite bombs from engineering, it's too expensive, it's waste of Arcanite bars, never do it. And then in the Makara, Arcanite bomb, it's the best item in the Makara. Like,
5-second silence bomb and drain mana.
Yeah, exactly. It's too strong, and like,
probably very useful in raids as well, if we can use it to mass silence mobs and everything.
Yeah.
Like
and
the healers.
It's kind of the same thing. Like, I've been playing a little bit on the private server called Vanilla Plus, and the primary reason I do that is because the shamans there can dual wield, but only dual wield fist weapons. So suddenly, suddenly the fist weapons from Sul'Gurub and fist weapons from, like, Nuxia, the 4-piece set is suddenly super valuable and not just a meme item, which it's so interesting to me.
I forgot to check the tracking. We walked by one pod that is real, or looks to be real, unless there's one beneath it.
Yeah, I'll go grab it.
I'm pinging on the minimap.
Just drop a totem and go pick one up. This one here. Oh, this one was a dud. Was this one further? Okay. Oh, this one.
Yep. I'm just gonna heal him up. In case it's one blow, that poison deals nasty damage.
There's also one way down here. That's a trap, I guess?
Oh, trap.
Okay.
We have one in front of us as well. 2 in front of us actually here on this plateau.
Could you share the puzzling quest, by the way?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Says you're already on it.
I got, like Karaja beat you to it.
We have a real one here. Oh,
Okay, who is tanking? Come on, guys.
Everyone.
Feel like I'm running back and forth here.
Let's clear a couple of more packs actually here to grab those pods. We have 3 of the real pods here.
Oh.
That's pretty neat.
So this is a real one. Let's see if it's a Thornlean seed or if it's a Thornlean seed. And we have the next one by that big tree.
On the tree.
I wouldn't mind some living essence as well. Gonna need them further down the line when I have more items that I need to enchant.
What do you need further down the line? The Thorling seeds?
No, the enchants. Let's see, which one is it? It's not that one, it's the one by the very ledge. I can't get there, I think, without pulling those whiplashes.
Yeah.
Let's see.
What is it you get from the pods exactly?
We have rum tubers here.
These rum toppers, which can be used for cooking recipes. That is what we get.
It's needed to make that.
Don't spoil it! Don't spoil it! He needs to figure it out himself. He needs to discover the journey, man.
I'm not gonna bother even.
Well, then you do it. Then you won't miss out.
It's the Chromaboon thing, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Let's grab one from Shelly as well. I think no win color loaded 8. You can grab one from him, and you have the 8 you need grab. But we'll find more probably in here as well. We have 2 in this, 3 of them real ones in this room as well. Shouldn't we chase them first? We are going, yeah, but we are going there later.
Yeah, we definitely should chase him first. Yeah, you just need 1 top per item, right? Or is it 2 to 1? I can't recall if you need 1 run topper per finish. Yeah, but like, do you need for the cooking recipe? Is it 1 to 1 or is it 2 to 1?
I think it's 1 to 1.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not too sure about it though. I had someone else cook it for me.
We'll find out when we kill Puslin, because he's the one trucking the recipe. So, by the way, Karaja, I know you had this post about selling potions for gold. Are you still doing that, or would you rather have mats and eels and stuff?
I mean, I've always been selling potions. It's just that I'm not selling purification flasks for gold anymore, because there is really no way to gather that many eels for me. I don't want to fish up 300 eels.
Yeah. Okay, it's just like what I'm trying to ask is if I can rely on you as a source for mongoose potions for gold.
Is my source.
Yeah, you can. No, I'll be crafting for like 5 to 10 people, perhaps.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm gathering herbs as needed for it, pretty much.
Okay, it's just like I don't know like how much time you have. So like if you're already overbooked with.
No, I always make sure to have materials. So that is why I often post and ask people to ask for the potions in advance and not right before the raid. Because if 5 people whisper me, I might run out if everyone wants to buy 10 mongos.
Yeah.
I usually post about it a couple of days before the raid. But I'm not here tomorrow, so I'm not making a post tonight.
Oh yeah, but like I think I got 6 or 7 or so I'll got enough for this raid.
Yep.
It's just
let me know when you want to buy it. And the amount.
Sure.
Dude, be aware though, I take higher prices than Thane.
Well...
Thane sold them for 1 gold each. I think it was 1 gold each. Which is the cheapest I've seen them on the server.
Yeah, I was buying the brute force potion from Doka's tab, and I was like, I guess they were. I assumed they were worth about 2 gold each, so I was like, yeah, 2 eels for 1 potion, but he wanted 3 eels for a potion, which was I thought was a bit expensive.
It's 4 flowers. So I would say... Stocka! Din jävla kattjävel! Not minding my cat, putting his claws in my shoulder. I did say something.
Alright. Let's talk to this guy.
Take my food, but oh yeah, it actually did run out. Oops. Don't stand in the poison.
Walk out of the poison. Walk out of the poison. That shit fucking hurts.
It's the same as Moradon poison.
That was weird. He was facing the other way, but he was targeting me apparently.
Don't forget to loot the imp for your key and quest item.
Grob, do you already have cooking leveled up? And Wing Collar, do you have it leveled up as well?
I wouldn't be on the quest if I didn't have it leveled up.
Yeah, true. Well, I'll pass then, and I'll ask you to make for me in the future.
I will be glad to do that.
Loot for the quest if you have to.
Yeah, remember to loot the key as well, and the book.
It's
Big
done,
key.
done and done.
Mm.
So now I can get a pair of boots that I can sell. Yippee-yay. Damn, like 12 edgy, 1 dodge. Really bad boots.
Yeah, dodge just not super valuable.
So we have 2 real pods by this side. One seems to be below us, because I can't see any here. They seem to be below us, never mind. No, we have 1 reel at least by the roots, by the wall, close to the 4 satyr pack. Think we should be able to reach that without pulling, but let's pull that face slasher first. We also have a real one by the satyr pack. I'm gonna grab this one. What?
It disappeared?
No. Yeah, nothing happened and it disappeared.
You want to do these guys?
Yeah, that pod looks to be real. That is...
Okay.
Actually, where is that? I wouldn't mind some dark runes as well for healing and raids as well.
Oh, yeah,
so I guess you...
a pad from behind. It's fine though. Like, you can have all my dark runes. I am too lazy to use them.
Too lazy? What?
A combination of being lazy and knowing that other people need them more.
What? Sure. I can't lose them for some reason. They are disappearing.
Okay, I'll try to loot the next one. Didn't you loot one outside, like next to the next to the big tree we killed? And that one worked fine, right?
I did. I don't know. Oh well, whatever.
Well, I'm recording.
Actually, it might be because I shift clicked. Shouldn't cause any issues. So yeah, I don't know what's going on.
We can report it to Nidio, then they can fix it. Oh, sorry.
Remember to loot this guy if you have the quest as well.
Yeah.
Might have been the wrong pod actually I looted as well.
Just need to make room in my bags with something. Cool. Quest complete.
Alright, there is a second pod here. I don't think that is a real one though. Yeah, I'm coming to you guys.
Oh, ghost mushroom.
Some value. I usually don't skip this one, right? I don't know if that's what we were looking to do.
I don't think we should skip this. They're pretty close together.
Yeah. Alright. Oh, they're not even fully linked.
Stunned? None of that.
Soccer.
Alright. We're gonna mark a couple of these because it really helps reduce the damage. Let's go.
Ah, my totem didn't survive again. Doesn't matter, we have Grub, he'll clean it up. Oh, double dodge on my Wind Fury. Whew.
A good day to be a shaman.
Ah man, like normal hit, dodge dodge. What the hell? Like, I can take that for my healing gear if nobody wants it.
I'm considering it just because of the armored buff on like the third boss in Blackwing Lair.
Yeah. Then,
just for that fight, but I should have enough crit rating. I mean, for 100% uptime with the world buffs.
You can take it if you want it. Like, I'm healing like 1% of the time. So
we
you
can
take
just
it.
you need along with me, otherwise it's fine. I mean, I'm very unlikely to use it to begin with.
Were there any pots here we could loot?
Yeah, there is, but we can take it on the way back as well.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. Yeah, we have 2 in that room, by the look of it.
Isn't there normally a rogue here on this way up?
There is, but he's further up, probably. As we haven't engaged yet, he patrols all the way up to the boss. Yep, you can pull whenever for my part. I'm just gonna stay here in line of sight.
Same thing. Focus a couple imps, it helps the damage. Let's go.
Just wait for me to get full mana here, because in case of an
Sure.
emergency, I would like to be able to heal.
Oh yeah, they do sacrifice on the table or something, right?
Yeah, but that's why
No
Crack's got a
issue.
line of sight, so he won't get sacrificed, but just in case.
It's pretty easy to outlast as well, it doesn't hurt that much.
And Wind, can you get the first cook?
Yeah, I'll take the first.
Sacrifice. Alright. Let's go.
Okay, I did not kick this spell right before the sacrifice.
No, it's fine. It barely hurts.
Oh, that's clever. So
See, we cleared down here, so we can jump down here.
Crop over here. Oh, Crop jumped down here.
Doesn't matter. We'll end up at pretty much the same spot either way. So we have 2 pods in that direction that is real. We also have a pod here, here. But I don't think we need that many right now.
So the pod right here?
No, not that one. The 2 by the ramp.
Okay. Well, I know that like the 5 of us don't need that many, but I'm pretty sure a lot of more people in the guild will need pods. So I'm down for just like looting as many as possible.
Yep. I mean, most raiders, at least the DPS and tanks, should get it, everyone, because it's far easier to get it if you can save your own buffs.
Yeah. So this one here?
Yeah, this one should be real. I'm letting other people vote, as it fucked up for me. And then we have the next one here.
Yep.
We should be able to line of sight this flower. No, we weren't.
Apparently this route is not a wall. Let's try again. Let's loot this bad boy. Nope.
And then we have this one that I'm standing next to.
So how does it work exactly? So you get all your buffs, then you save it, and then you can
Retrieve them whenever you want.
Yeah.
But only once.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can save them again if you want to, but... So you can take your buffs, kill the boss, and then save your buffs as well, but you have lost a bit of duration on them, of course. We have a real one at this pack, but then we're gonna have to clear demons.
It's fine.
Okay. One of the tubers to grub.
Well, one of the huge you can decide if you only want to use your buffs on bosses, if you want to use a lot of these chrono booms, or you can decide if you just want to use it on the raid in general. But the good thing is that when you get to Gar in Molten Core, you can hide it with your buffs so that he doesn't dispels them, and then you can put them on again afterwards.
And you can also have buffs for entire raids if you want to. Here is the second one. This one.
But that means that you need multiple.
Oh, fuck, I pulled.
Oh yeah, and I don't know how expensive it's gonna be here, but on classic servers it's 10 gold each time you like turn your buffs on and off.
Do you want an answer to how expensive it is, or do you want to discover for yourself?
I want to discover it. I have like tried to stay away entirely from the Discord server to not know anything.
Yep.
I want answers.
Oh, many. So I got 20 tubers now. That's super nice.
Yeah, give one to grub as mentioned.
Yeah. I
Thing
will,
is, I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, but I'll figure out how expensive it is when it's done. Grub, I assume you want the finished product. You don't want the raw tubers.
Re-rolling?
Oh, you can just take the chest. I don't care. Like if anybody can open it, you can.
Yeah. Look.
All right. Did we do the invest guy? Oh, there he is.
So I cannot dispel that poison. Would you mind doing it, Wing Collar?
Yeah, sure.
It's really a nasty one.
Okay, yeah, it's just sometimes poison do like 3 damage and sometimes it does a lot. And,
Yeah, these ones actually do hurt. It's like 300 per stack every 2 seconds or so. Might be less, but it stacks.
Yeah, it's nice you're calling it out because the annoying thing about poison cleansing is that like if I do it like one by casting the spell clean poison, it's more expensive to cast the spell once than to drop the totem. But if I have already dropped my mana regen totem, I don't want to remove it to drop the poison cleansing totem.
No.
So
Focus the healers here, the guardians. Try to interrupt as well.
I'm just stunned casually for 5 seconds.
I'm running out of space.
So am I. All these random herbs and stuff dropping.
Yeah, and I always have too much consumables and everything with me.
Yep. Same. And now I picked up engineering, so now it's just even worse.
I'm gonna grab the store your buff things on all my characters. Gonna need to level up 2 more characters to 300 cooking. Yay.
Well, if you need some random food stuff, you can ask me. Like, I have an alt with a bank with a lot of like low level. Well, not a lot, but like a wide selection of food stuff from various levels.
I'll get back to you once I'm back from my trip and start leveling my cooking. I have a bit as well.
So we
shouldn't. I don't suggest we walk in the middle, but we can do that if you like. We have a pod here, by the way.
Where do you get the initial quest for?
I'm pulling.
Oh, wait a second. We have a lot of stuff. Grub was also going in that direction. Okay, good.
He was probably checking for the book. There's a book in the corner, he says.
Exactly, but like he was going one way and going 3 different directions.
Yep. Not good. In this specific room, at least.
Okay, now we can go for the book. So, show the way, Grub. I can't see it, so...
Oh, I just put my...
Spy that Death Slasher. That is the one doing poison. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome. Yeah, you can have the book. I can't see it on the ground. I don't know where it is.
I can't target it again.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I found it. I'm just gonna let it be. It's probably nothing, and if it is, I can fight you guys for it later.
Oh.
Empty? Weird.
So, was there a pot more over here?
We have one over here, yes. I'm walking to it.
Great.
No, it's above us, I guess.
But where
I missed one extra. Or, I don't know.
Or maybe it respawned. I don't know.
Maybe it respawned. Let's gather up before we move further.
So we have the next patrol coming here.
Alright, let's pull it.
What about this pot here? Is that a trap?
Trap.
Okay. Damn, double poison right off the bat.
I was gonna mess you up.
So we have one reel over here somewhere. I'm pinging on the minimap, but can't really tell if it's above us or below. I think it's the one that at the start I called out to be real, that it wasn't real.
Sounds about right.
Alright.
Yeah, it's here. Not me. I'll let someone else load.
Yeah, I'm coming. Seed.
And we have another one over here by the Death Slasher by the look of it, somewhere in the corner. But we have a patrol over here that we should take care of first.
Go on.
Yeah, you can go. Yeah.
And suddenly there is 3 to 4 pods. I think they respawn on the first level because I can see a lot of pods here. That seems to be real. Let's see, it's over.
We can always,
this one.
The one right here?
Yep.
I just can't click it. There we go. We can always camp out and run back in and take the respawn.
Yep.
If we want to.
Yeah, they have respawned up above us.
So yeah. Soon got enough
And
ready
it's
for 5 characters.
more, I think. Are
That's
you shaking for the book? Yeah, I can run inside again and do one cleaning, I guess, as I can see which ones are the real ones.
Oh yeah, right. It's I got more than 5. I got more for 8 characters. Great.
Oh.
So where do you get the initial quest for the?
Once you have like I think 225 cooking or perhaps 300, you can speak to a cooking trainer and you will be sent on the quest.
Just any
cooking trainer, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't check. I only went there when I had 300 cooking myself on the rogue.
Like I can tell you a painful experience
is not
if
a
you
cooking
want
one.
to know, but I won't. So you'll have to figure out for yourself.
And let's jump here.
Sure. Oh yeah, I don't have this. I don't think. Does this thing? No, you need a quest from Moonblade.
You can use you can loot the item without having the quest.
Okay, good.
So just go ahead and load it afterwards.
I
I'm
don't
ready.
have the quest for Moonglade, that's for sure.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
I'll do a pre-shield on you. And I'll stay pretty close to the tanks for Mass Taunt once the imps comes. Do a pre-shield on myself actually as well.
Oh, I blew my
Oh, strength reduced by 100. Hot damn.
yeah, I blew my challenge
Imps
earlier.
No healing belt yet again. That sucks. Once you have loaded this item, would you mind making it to a raid as well?
I will. Vikram, do you want the item over here? These red
Item?
pellets. It's that's a question Moonglade where you have to go fetch one, so you can just go to Moonglade and turn it in right away.
All right.
Any
Yeah.
any other miners in the party?
I'm a miner.
Would you mind making it to a raid?
Yeah, I'll
first?
do. It's Ninja that can do that.
Thank you. I'll go back about and check the vines.
You want to roll, or what was the question?
Yeah, we
Oh,
can
yeah,
roll for the last one. There's 3 of them.
Okay.
Oh, big 93. Oof.
Goddamn.
Close. See if this is if this one was the good one. Oh, I got a triple dent stone.
I sold him. The elite there is not immune to crowd control effects.
What elite? Did you take the main entrance or the back entrance?
Big key pickup.
Karacha, did you take the main entrance? Or
I went by the main entrance.
Yeah. I'll just come in and cover your back so nothing happens to you.
And were we done then, or?
Yeah, basically, yeah, we're done.
Sweet.
Thank you for the help.
No problem. Got a nice key.
Now I just need to go farm a bunch.
All right. Later.
Yeah, later.
Right. All right, I think it's time to get some food. We'll catch you guys later.
Yeah.
Boy, you are really unlucky.
I mean, it's supposed to be more rad than the Thornling Seed, as I recall it, but in my case, I don't mind having the Thornling Seed. Might become useful at some point.
True.
1 extra target damage.
Well, I'll Hearthstone out now.
Yeah, I'm not doing more myself either, with the patrols and everything. I'm just gonna log out CFO. And I'm off as well. I will be back at Thursday or so. I'll see you guys. Good luck. If you go to raid, stay safe.
Yeah, you too, man. Have a good holiday.
Vacation, yeah. I'll enjoy it, and yeah, I'll try not to fall off the mountain or something.
Good stuff.
See you guys.
See ya.
To a fitting end. His and the Mountains conflict started with fire and it ended with fire. It's a little poetic, and I will say I do like the Hound's final scene with Arya and Arya calling him Sandor. I always loved these two characters together, and at least their dynamic got treated with some respect. We also see Euron Greyjoy die. Finally, this character is complete dog shit in the show, which is annoying because he's a badass in the books. Jaime, of course, runs back to Cersei, and they both get crushed by rocks and die. 5 years on, and I still have no words for this. Literally any other option for Cersei's death would have been better than this. How Arya ended up killing the Night King, but not Cersei, is just beyond me. Cersei should have died in one of two ways. Scenario A, Arya kills Cersei, crossing a name off her list. Or B, Jaime kills Cersei, bringing his arc full circle. But the writers opted for rocks. Like, oh my god. So that was The Bells, perhaps the most disastrous episode of Game of Thrones, and 5 years on from its release, it's still as mind-blowing as the day it came out. But episode 6, aka The Iron Throne, aka the final episode of Game of Thrones, and the final slap in the face for every single person who invested time into this show. We see the characters walk through the destruction and rubble that this show has now become. The scene where Tyrion finds Jaime and Cersei buried amongst the rocks is emotional from the standpoint of the time invested with these characters, but is completely overshadowed by how stupid the writing was to get to that point. There's also a moment that I didn't realize until my most recent rewatch, and that is Grey Worm actually teleports from the streets of King's Landing to the Red Keep in this episode. Jon leaves Grey Worm to go talk to Dany, whilst Grey Worm stays back to execute the Lannister prisoners, and by the time Jon reaches Dany, Grey Worm is already standing there. I guess he learned how to teleport from Arya because she does it in this episode as well. By this point, stupid lapses of logic like this are the least of the show's concerns though. Now, as bad as this episode is, this shot of Daenerys is pretty freaking great. That's one thing. This episode is shot incredibly well. Like seriously, go and watch this episode again if you bear to torture yourself enough. The visuals are actually unbelievably good. But it just goes to show that outstanding visuals can never make up for shit writing. So after it's been established that Dany is now Queen of the Ashes, characters such as Tyrion turn against her. You know, it's almost as if he could have seen this coming, but Tyrion just became increasingly stupid as the season progressed. And now the only person who can do anything about Danny's madness is John. Love being the death of reason is the excuse as to why John even has a hard time deciding what he should be doing in this situation. And it's a total cop-out. But after realizing for himself that Danny is too far gone by this point, as if it wasn't obvious already, John kills Daenerys with the Iron Throne ominously sitting in the background. Danny's death alerts Drogon to obviously come and kill John for killing his mother, but no, he's a Targaryen and the most plot armor-filled character of the entire show, so Drogon doesn't kill him for reasons, I guess, and instead opts to burn the Iron Throne to the ground because I think he was mad that the power of the throne corrupted his mother. I guess that's the only thing they can even remotely make sense as to why Drogon does this, and it still doesn't make sense. Drogon then flies away with Danny's body to probably be resurrected in a show in 5 years' time or something. There's then a small time jump as all the remaining Lords of Westeros meet in the Dragon Pits to discuss what happens now that Danny is dead and Jon has been incarcerated for killing her. And this is one of the worst scenes of the entire show. Tyrion is Grey Worm's prisoner and stops him from speaking, but then kind of just lets him talk anyway. And he proceeds to drop the most absurd monologue trying to make everything that's happened to this point sound profound. And then he says Bran should be king because he has the best story, which is so stupid. On top of that, remember the line Bran said a few episodes ago about him not wanting anymore? Well, it's made clear in this scene that he did in fact want something, so, you know, more good writing. He wants the throne. It's just like, what? And then we start to wind the episode down. Tyrion is now Hand of the King to spend the rest of his life fixing the mistakes he's made. Arya sets off on a journey to find what's west of Westeros. Sansa is Queen of the North, and Jon is to live out his days at the Wall. And that's the end of Game of Thrones. 5 years on, and this is still mind-blowing that we got to this point. How a show that many would consider to have been the greatest of all time managed to stoop so low and go out with such illogical garbage writing is just insane. Truly a sad decline for an otherwise masterful series. So that was the decline of Game of Thrones revisited 5 years after its conclusion. Despite season 8 being a travesty of storytelling, Game of Thrones is still my favorite show ever. That's how strong the first 4 seasons are, and how much I enjoy some of the moments from the later seasons. Game of Thrones is one of the rare TV shows where you can call it a masterpiece, but you can also call it a disaster at the same time, and not sound like you're insane. It truly is sad to behold the downfall of Game of Thrones.
The Kung Fu Panda trilogy is secretly brilliant. After rewatching the entire trilogy back to back to back in one day, I was astonished with how deep and powerful a story about Kung Fu fighting animals can be. With the inclusion of Kung Fu Panda 4 into this franchise, it's time to look back at the trilogy that started it all and if it still holds up as one of the best animated trilogies. In this video, I'm gonna go through each of the original 3 Kung Fu Panda movies and talk about what makes stories like these so special. Let's begin. Each Kung Fu Panda movie has a different arc for Po, but it's maybe more important to ask what all 3 movies are about. The Kung Fu Panda trilogy is always asking the same question: who are you? Every time Po is thrusted into a new adventure, he ends up asking himself this question. Now, some may look at this as redundant, but we need to remember what kind of film Kung Fu Panda is. It's a kid's story. No, that doesn't mean it has less to say than a Christopher Nolan film. It means its major goal is to help children answer questions about their lives. And what bigger question is there for a kid to ask than, who am I? Where do I belong in this world? What makes me happy? Kung Fu Panda begins with a dream of becoming something bigger and better, only to wake up to being told what to do by your parents. An important thing to note about this dream is that it's not just about Po dreaming that he is a Kung Fu master, it's also about the perception people have of him. Remember that for later. Po's introduction is quite similar to a lot of heroes' journeys stories, but there's one thing that makes Po's story different. Just like other heroes, Po has dreams of becoming more than what he's supposed to be. Just like other heroes, Po isn't happy with his current direction in life, and just like other heroes, Po doesn't feel like he belongs. I really liked the first scene we have with Po's dad. Right away, in just the first few minutes, we see what Po wants in life, what his life currently is, and how he feels about it. Now, with a lot of these other stories that I mentioned, they have active protagonists. An active protagonist is a character that makes decisions that push the story forward. Instead of letting random events dictate their actions, they make decisions that start a chain reaction of events. In storytelling, it's really important to have active characters because when characters make decisions, that is when you learn more about who they are. You learn more about their personality, their goals, how they act under pressure, etc. When it comes to Po, he is not an active character. Sure, he has dreams of becoming a Kung Fu master, but is he doing anything to accomplish those dreams? We can tell he doesn't care about making noodles, but is he doing anything to change his life direction? Nope. Po is doing none of those things. So since Po is not an active character, that must mean he's a bad character, right? Wrong. He makes an active attempt to go see the announcement of the Dragon Warrior, and we see how hard he tries to watch it even when he's locked out of the room. This shows us how passionate Po is about Kung Fu, even though he doesn't practice it. When it comes to actually learning Kung Fu, Po doesn't make active attempts to achieve his dreams because he doesn't believe he can. Po's fat, he's awkward, he's clumsy. How can he become a Kung Fu master? He's not special. Shit, the closest thing he'll ever be to that is playing with the action figures in his room or watching others fight from the sidelines. Also, how could he become a Kung Fu master when he's expected to uphold the family business of making noodles? When he wakes up and goes downstairs to help his dad, he's reminded how his destiny is to make noodles. So why would Po try to learn Kung Fu? Well, that's what Kung Fu Panda is about. It's essentially a story about believing in yourself. It's about embracing what others see as flaws as a fundamental part of who you are. It's about learning that there's no secret ingredient to being great. The ingredient is everything that makes you, you. So let's go through the film and see how Po's journey teaches these lessons. When Po first gets selected to become the Dragon Warrior, no one believes in him, especially himself. Master Shifu makes it very clear Po does not belong here. When he sees the Furious Five train, Po sees he is nothing like them. He's not only not able to complete the tasks, but he looks like a total idiot in doing so. And Po is reminded over and over again how he physically represents the opposite of a Kung Fu master. All his heroes, the people he was playing with,
What brings you here? Good luck, friend.
their action figures of in the beginning of the movie are making fun of him behind his back. Po never asked for this. He was accidentally put into a position to be selected as the Dragon Warrior. Now he has to listen to others constantly point out all his insecurities. Even one of his heroes tells him that he's a disgrace to Kung Fu. Po is reminded that he isn't special. So why doesn't he quit? As Shifu points out, Po appears to gladly take beating after beating to stay one of his students. In one of the more powerful scenes of the movie, Po tells Shifu that the reason he doesn't quit is because every other day of his life being a normal guy was more painful than all the abuse he received the past few days. Fuck man, that was such a powerful moment. Po goes on to ask Shifu how he can turn this fat panda into the Dragon Warrior. Po's self-image is so negative, he believes that in order to become the Dragon Warrior, he needs to completely change. This thought process is probably so common in kids today. We live in a world today where everyone constantly needs to show the best version of themselves. With social media, we assume that people have it all figured out. We assume that we're somehow behind in life or that we're a major disappointment. We assume that in order to be great, we need to change. The first half of the film highlights all of Po's insecurities and that he needs some great transformation if he wants to become the Dragon Warrior. The second half is all about proving Po wrong. At first, Shifu doesn't know how to turn Po into a Dragon Warrior. In one of the next few scenes, however, it starts to click for Shifu. He can't train Po like he did the Furious 5 or Tai Lung. He needs to train Po differently because Po is different, and different is not bad. There's no style of teaching that works for everyone. Shifu realizes this and adapts. This also perfectly plays into his backstory with Tai Lung, but more on that later. We get a really cool training montage where Shifu feeds into all of Po's strengths. He trains him with food and teaches Po to use his body to his advantage. It's a great moment that makes Po not so insecure about his flaws. Shifu then believes Po is ready to read the Dragon Scroll. This scroll is going to give Po the secret power to becoming great, right? Well, it turns out the scroll is blank and only shows a reflection of yourself. Po at first feels defeated. Even though he had all this great training with Shifu, he hasn't accepted that he could be great. Po has imposter syndrome up until he learns the true meaning of the scroll. After his dad tells him that there is no secret ingredient to his secret ingredient soup, it finally clicks for Po. There is no secret ingredient to being great. There's no single characteristic that makes someone better than everyone else. What makes you great is you. What a perfect message to tell a kid. This movie teaches Po that it doesn't matter that he is fat or that he is clumsy. That is a part of what makes Po great. Po had all these expectations, and when he tried to live up to them, it never worked. He was trying to be that noodle boy his father always wanted him to be, but that didn't make him happy. When Po first trained with Shifu, he tried to train like the Furious 5, but that didn't work. All the time, kids have expectations put onto them. Sometimes kids live up to them, and sometimes they don't. But just because they don't, that doesn't mean they aren't great. Po doesn't defeat Tai Lung by fighting like the Furious 5. He wins by being himself. Po basically began the story and ended the story with the exact same physicality. The only thing that changed was his perspective of himself. This is maybe one of the most important lessons you can teach a kid, that it's okay to be you. You don't need to be someone you're not. Again, there is no secret ingredient to being great. There is just you. And that's the major theme of Kung Fu Panda 1. Now, what turns a movie like Kung Fu Panda 1 from being just good to great is how the major theme is reflected in its villain. So let's look at Tai Lung and how his journey mirrors Po. Tai Lung, in a way, is the complete opposite of Po, but is also the exact same. We learned that as a kid, Tai Lung was told he had the potential for greatness. All his life he was trained and trained so he could live up to those expectations. Shifu raised him like his own son, with love and compassion. Tai Lung was even told that he could become the Dragon Warrior. When the time came, however, he was told that he wasn't worthy of the title. What did his master do when all his dreams were crushed? Nothing. He didn't stand up for the boy he adopted. He just stood there and accepted what happened. This backstory showed us how, just like expectations hindered Po, they ruined Tai Lung. Tai Lung never asked to be a kung fu prodigy. He never asked to be destined for greatness. But now that he is not given the Dragon Scroll, the ultimate symbol of greatness, he sees himself as a failure. But unlike Po, who accepted the idea early in his life that he could never be great, Tai Lung let this consume him. He refused to settle for anything less than the best. He destroyed a whole village, showing how strong and how great of a fighter he really was, only for him to be imprisoned for 20 years. I love how in the beginning of the film, the storytellers want you to believe that Tai Lung is indeed great because of how good of a fighter he is. The escape sequence from the prison was not only a brilliant action set piece, but it did indeed set the audience's expectations of how dangerous Tai Lung can be. He even manages to go against the Furious 5 alone and defeat them. What the movies in this trilogy do so well is that they develop the villains all throughout the movie. A lot of movies could have just stopped at the exposition dump of why the villain is bad, but not Kung Fu Fu Panda. When Tai Lung returns and chats with Shifu, we get a look into the real Tai Lung. He doesn't just talk about getting the scroll, he talks about how he did all of this just to make Shifu proud. Just like any kid, Tai Lung wanted nothing more than his dad to be proud of him, but he mistakenly believed that not being the Dragon Warrior meant that Shifu wasn't proud. The weight of that expectation destroyed Tai Lung, but this was also a failure on Shifu's part. Had Shifu given Tai Lung the reassurance that he needed, then maybe nothing bad would have happened. If Shifu told Tai Lung, "You have the potential to be great, but if you aren't, I will still love you," then Tai Lung probably would have never spiraled into darkness. This movie teaches kids that sometimes unfair expectations are thrusted upon you, and that it's not your fault. In one of the more emotional scenes in the movie, Shifu apologizes to Tai Lung. He tells Tai Lung that he was always proud of him, and he's sorry for turning Tai Lung into the man that he became. A lot of people have pointed out the excellent animation of Tai Lung's face here, how hard this moment hit him, and how taken aback he is by it. But it's too late. Tai Lung is too far gone. He still wants the scroll more than anything. But now he doesn't want the scroll so he can make them proud, he wants it just to spite his former masters, to prove them wrong that he was worthy this entire time. Even though Shifu apologizes at this moment in the story, I think he learned this lesson after Po first tried to quit. Maybe deep down Shifu didn't want to let Po down the same way he let Tai Lung down. That is why, along with the guidance of Oogway, he sticks with Po and learns to train him the right way. After the failure of Tai Lung, Shifu craved control of everything so he wouldn't fail someone again. If he controlled every aspect of his students, then they would never turn dark like Tai Lung did. He lost that joy he had of being a master. But this all changed when Po arrived, someone who forced Shifu to reconsider and adapt as a master. Kung Fu Panda is of course about learning and being a student, but it's also about masters and teaching, because that is arguably just as important. I think the inclusion of Shifu's arc in this film is why the story relates to adults just as much as kids, because watching this movie as a kid, we relate more to Po, but watching it as an adult, we also relate to Shifu and his struggles. It's a brilliant way to tell a story that is for kids. We then get to the climax of the film, and it's pretty much just Po versus Tai Lung. One thing that stood out to me during this fight is that until he gets the Dragon Scroll, Tai Lung isn't really attacking Po. He just keeps going after the scroll. His tunnel vision and obsession with the scroll has blinded him from the fact that if he just dealt with Po, then he would have gotten the scroll so easily. Regardless, he still does end up getting the scroll, only to see that it is blank. Unfortunately, Tai Lung can't accept that he is already great, and that is why he loses to Po. Kung Fu Panda 1 is a story about expectations and acceptance. It teaches us how expectations can destroy people, especially when those expectations are to be great. But more importantly than that, it teaches us that there is no singular definition of greatness. It teaches us that anyone can be great. You just need to accept yourself. The single ingredient to greatness is your heart. The only person who can define you is you. Before I continue on, on with the rest of this video, only 8% of viewers are subscribed to this channel. So if you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing for more content like this. Thank you. If Kung Fu Panda 1 was about finding who you are by accepting your present, then Kung Fu Panda 2 is about finding who you are by accepting your past. So Kung Fu Panda 2 pretty much begins shortly after the first movie, and Po appears to have everything he's ever wanted. He still is goofy old self, he still has lessons from Shifu, but most importantly, he gets to save his village fighting alongside the Furious Five.
next we meet.
One of the most important lessons a sequel can teach someone is that you don't just conquer your demons once and that's it. Life is an ongoing battle. There will be new challenges you'll have to face, but how you continue to fight them will determine what kind of person you are. Poe thinks he's conquered all his demons until one moment where he freezes in battle. There's a brief reminder of his past, and Poe tries to brush it off like nothing happened. In the first movie, I mentioned how Poe struggled with the expectations he had in life. Now, in the second movie, he struggles with the expectations he has of being the Dragon Warrior. It's not often referenced in the second and third films, but remember, the Dragon Warrior was a prophesized being for hundreds of years. With this much expectation, whomever the Dragon Warrior is, they will be the pinnacle of strength. They will show no weakness, no flaws. They are the perfect warrior. Poe accepted himself physically in the first movie, but what about mentally? After the first encounter with Shen's soldiers, Poe asks his dad questions about his real parents. All Poe's dad can say, however, is that he found Poe one day in a basket and had no clue how he got there. The lack of answers here haunts Poe. Did his parents love him? Did they abandon him? As the Dragon Warrior, however, he can't afford to ask himself these questions. There's a mission he needs to go on, and Poe will be the perfect kung fu fighter. There's a scene in the first third of the movie where, after waking up from a nightmare of his past, Poe goes outside to try and find inner peace, but he can't do it. Tigress helps Poe fight and talks about how she doesn't have feeling in her hands from decades of training and fighting. Poe admires Tigress's ability to be the perfect fighter. She is always so cold and tough. She never shows any weakness and never shows any vulnerability. Poe's view of toughness is what Tigress is, so he tries to portray strength and courage by hiding his true feelings. You can already start to see the similarities between this film and the first film. In both films, Poe begins the movie by pretending to be someone he isn't. You may say this is just repeating the first movie, but again, I disagree. Kids need to learn that you will struggle with your self-image all throughout life. It's something you will have to keep working on. After a long action sequence where Poe and the Furious Five fight through a village and fight Shen, Poe again freezes at the symbol that reminds him of his past. One of the more powerful moments in this scene is right after the battle. Tigress tells Poe he needs to stay behind. We assume the reason is because he keeps freezing and Tigress doesn't trust him. Poe continues to act all tough, saying he can handle it. But for maybe the first time in the series, Tigress shows vulnerability. She gives Poe a hug and tells him she doesn't want to see him get hurt. This moment stuns Poe because it's the first time Tigress broke this facade of perfection. I love this moment because it's deconstructing in Poe's mind what it means to portray strength. Poe, however, hasn't learned this lesson yet, and he still decides to go confront Shen. Where he loses and gets shot into a river and then floats down it until he's found by the soothsayer. I'll be honest, this scene here was when I realized this movie was special. The soothsayer tells Poe he must accept what happened to him. He must let the memory play out in his mind and accept the pain that comes with reliving that memory. A brilliant decision the director made was when the animation changed from 2D to 3D. All series, whenever we get 2D animation, it usually means it's either a dream Poe is having or it's exposition. It's more of an illustration of what one thinks happened rather than what actually happened. However, to illustrate that Poe is finally accepting what happened to him, the flashback transitions from 2D to 3D. This is what really happened to Po. I almost teared up here. The first movie was really good, but it didn't touch me so deep on an emotional level like this movie did. What Kung Fu Panda 2 teaches us is that in order to accept trauma, you have to deal with pain. Processing those emotions is not easy and it will hurt. Portraying emotionless strength and bottling up your emotions is far easier, but you will never have inner peace. Po shows us that it is okay to feel pain. It's okay to accept that pain as a part of you. Pain is not something that makes you weak, but most importantly, pain isn't something that defines you. I love the line from the soothsayer where she says, "It's the rest of your story that defines who you are." That might be the best quote in the trilogy. This isn't even just a lesson for kids, it's a lesson for anyone. Most people don't realize that the deepest scars are the ones you can't see. Everyone has those scars, and we think it defines us. That shame of whatever happened in the past prevents us from moving forward. Kung Fu Panda 2 argues it doesn't. It's in fact a part of us, but it doesn't determine who we can become, and it especially shouldn't distract you from those who love you right now. In this moment here, Po is able to find inner peace. He has accepted that pain from his past. He has felt his feelings. The third act begins, and of course we get another battle. Po and the Furious 5 fight, and even Shifu shows up. The climax of the movie, however, is when Po stands alone and faces down the entirety of Shen's army. Po has no weapons, no secret ingredient that prepared him for this moment. All he did was accept the pain of his past, and now he has inner peace. Is it a little ridiculous that Po can now catch a cannon blast because he found inner peace? Sure, but the reason I love movies like these, or more specifically moments like these, is because the thematic message is far more important than the believability of the moment. Po here is able to destroy pretty much the entirety of Shen's army, and in a moment of defeat, Shen cannot understand how Po is able to find inner peace. Po says that scars don't matter and that only what you do now matters. Frankly, I wish Po worded this differently, because your scars absolutely do matter. It's just that they don't define who you become. Either way, the movie illustrated its message effectively. For the second movie in a row, the main villain cannot possibly comprehend the theme of the movie, and it leads to their defeat. Po's arc was, again, beautiful. It taught us a valuable lesson about pain and scars, and I love that message. This movie illustrates its theme through its villain as well. So let's take a look at Shen. Just like how Tai Long was a mirror of Po in Kung Fu Panda 1, Shen is a mirror of Po in this movie. Shen's backstory began with him being banished by his parents. After using fireworks as a weapon rather than for celebration, Shen's parents hired a soothsayer to see what was in Shen's future, and it was foretold he would be destroyed by a being of black and white. Because of this, Shen went to a panda village to massacre as many pandas as he could. This is what led to Shen's banishment, a moment that would define him forever. Like Po in this film, Shen wanted to portray strength by bottling up his emotions. He felt great pain from the thought of his parents not loving him, so to cope with that, he just wanted to take over all of China. Just like how Tai Long wanted the approval of his master, Shen wanted the approval of his parents. He took his parents' creation and created something new with it. However, his parents didn't approve. When he massacred a village to show how strong he was and how he had control of his destiny, his parents didn't approve. Both times Shen wanted to please his parents, it ended up backfiring. So with his parents gone, Shen returns home to begin his conquest of all of China. What I really like about Shen's story is his dynamic with Po compared to Tai Long's and Kai's dynamic with Po. Tai Long and Kai fought Po because he was the dragon warrior. Shen, on the other hand, doesn't really care that Po is the dragon warrior. He only cares about Po because Po is a panda. Instead of attacking Po because of a title he has, he's attacking Po because of his identity. It makes Shen's dynamic with Po far more personal, which makes the conversations they have with each other a lot more interesting. The first time Shen meets Po, he is fearful of his destiny. He copes with this by mocking Po. Po doesn't even realize what happened to his people, and this amuses Shen. The next time they fight, we get one of the cruelest moments of the trilogy. After Po asks Shen what happened in the past, Shen tells Po that his parents didn't love him and that they abandoned
How may I aid you? I've been expecting you. How may I help?
may I aid you? You wish to speak?
Hello. Peace be with you.
What brings you here?
Adore.
What brings you here? Goodbye.
Ishnu Allah.
Hi. I am listening.
What brings you here? Hello.
Time is money, friend.
Abandoned him. At first I was gonna say Shen lied, but I don't know that he did lie. There's a great quote out there that highlights the difference between a hero and a villain. A hero uses the pain of their past and wants no one else to ever feel that pain. A villain uses the pain of their past and wants others to feel that pain too. Whether or not Shen was lying, Shen tells Poe that his parents never loved him because he knows how much pain that can cause a person. To Shen, there is nothing more painful than your parents not loving you, so he uses that pain and tries to destroy Poe. The reason I'm not convinced that Shen was lying is because what if he believes that a parent would never send you away out of love? We know that Poe's mom hid Poe away so he could be safe, but what if Shen isn't capable of thinking that way? What if Shen believes if a parent loves you, they will never abandon you? Regardless, Shen makes sure that Poe feels that pain. By the end of the movie, when Poe defeats Shen, Shen is left stunned. He knows that Poe had a similar past, and he knows that Poe has felt that same pain of abandonment, but Poe stands across from his entire fleet and shows nothing but inner peace. How could this be? Shen tormented Poe all movie. He told Poe the worst thing anyone could hear. He even admitted to Poe that he was responsible for the death of his loved ones. How could Poe just stand here so calm and peaceful? Again, just like Tai Long, Shen cannot wrap his head around the theme of the movie, and that unwillingness to let go of that pain leads to his downfall. Shen's story story is one of tragedy. All he wanted was his parents' approval, but it led him down a path of anger and rage. I love the moment where the soothsayer tells Shen that his parents did love him. It's like the moment where Shifu told Tai Lung that he was proud of him. Even though it's the thing each character always wanted to hear, it's too late. They are too far down this path. Shen is also a victim of the self-fulfilling prophecy. Shen learned that he would be defeated by a being of black and white, so he went and massacred a village of pandas. That massacre, however, led to Po being sent to a different village, where he inevitably became the Dragon Warrior and defeated Shen anyway. What I really like about this story, however, is that this is just one interpretation. At the end of the movie, it's not Po who strikes the final blow to kill Shen. It was Shen's own device that crushes him. Mind you, Shen is also a being of black and white. He has some red in him, but he is predominantly black and white. Was it Po who fulfilled the prophecy, or was it Shen who destroyed himself? I'll let you guys decide. Kung Fu Panda 2 is a movie that teaches you the importance of feeling your feelings, that it's important to feel that pain of your trauma, that it's okay that these things happen to you and that you're not weak for feeling pain. But most importantly, Kung Fu Panda 2 teaches us that you are not defined by your past, that, as the soothsayer said, it's the rest of your story that defines who you are. Kung Fu Panda 3 is noticeably the weakest of the trilogy. I wouldn't say it is a bad film because there is a lot to learn from this movie, as I'll get to in a second, but the stark difference between the first two films and the third film is the villain. Kai is just not on the same level as Tai Lung or Shen. So before I discuss Po and his arc, let's discuss Kai and what makes him a less compelling villain than his counterparts. What made Tai Lung and Shen work so well was that they were a mirror of Po. In the first movie, Po was someone who struggled with the expectations put on him, and Tai Lung was the same. The second movie, Po was struggling with his past. Shen was struggling with the same thing. Having these villains that mirrored Po so well allowed the writers to convey the theme more effectively. Po was better off because he practiced the message of the story, and the villains were worse off because they could not accept the message of the story. Kung Fu Panda 3 to me was about learning to pass on what you have learned. Po has to learn to teach others, and that is how Kai is defeated. Kai, on the other hand, doesn't really reflect that theme. Sure, you could say he didn't want to teach anyone. In fact, he's the opposite because he's actively taking away people's chi while Po is giving people chi, but the reason Kai loses at the end of the film is not because he doesn't teach anyone else. It's just because Po did teach others. In the other two films, the climax was a mix of Po accepting the theme and the villain rejecting it. In this movie, it's just Po accepting it that allowed him to win. In the end. So from that perspective, Kai doesn't have the emotional weight behind his arc. Kai is also nowhere near as three-dimensional as Tai Lung or Shen. When we look at all three villains, they essentially all just want power. But Tai Lung wanted power so he could prove to his masters how worthy he was. Shen wanted power to hide the pain he felt from his banishment. With Kai, there is no deeper reason for wanting power. He just wants power. We get a backstory of how Kai and Oogway found the pandas and how they were great teachers of chi. Kai is then said to have found the ability to take others' chis away, and that is why he was banished to the spirit realm. But what were the motivations behind Kai wanting wanting to take others' chi away. It appears that Kai just wanted this power because it made him powerful. No deeper reason that allows us to take a deep look into his character. Not every villain needs a traumatic past that motivates them, but they should have a deeper reason for their motivations. Another reason that Kai lacks the depth that the other villains do is because of his lack of connection to our characters. With Tai Lung, his fight with Shifu was personal. With Shen, his fight with Po was personal. And because each of those two characters had a personal relationship to one of our main characters, it allowed moments for us to see the vulnerability in each character. Like when Shifu told Tai Lung that he was always proud of him, or when the soothsayer told Shen that his parents did love him. Is there any moment like that with Kai? He has a personal relationship with Oogway, but he defeats Oogway in the beginning of the film. For the rest of the film, he is just sending ghosts of other characters to attack Po, and then confronts Po himself at the end of the film. What if Kai was one of Oogway's first students? After Oogway taught him everything he knew, Kai sought more power for himself and learned how to steal chi. Kai never wanted to share his knowledge, so he never took on a disciple of his own. Because Kai never wanted to pass on his knowledge, Oogway took on another student in Shifu. Shifu inevitably did pass on what he learned to the Furious Five, Po, and Tai Lung. Because of this, Oogway favored Shifu, and this made Kai jealous. For the rest of the film, Kai wants to defeat all of Shifu's students as a way to prove he was the best student of Oogway. But at the end of the film, Po is able to take Kai into the spirit realm because of the Wuxi fingerhold, something that Oogway taught Shifu and Shifu taught Po. So Kai is ultimately defeated because of knowledge that was passed on from teacher to student. I think a little rewrite like that allows for Kai to become a more interesting character, and he would mirror Po's story. But as the film currently stands, Kai is a cool looking villain who has interesting powers, but he lacks the depth that Tai Lung and Shen had. Moving on from Kai, let's look at Po's journey and what lessons Kung Fu Panda 3 tries to teach us. As I said before, this movie has a theme about passing on what you have learned. Early in the film, Shifu challenges Po with teaching the rest of the Furious Five, and Po doesn't like this. Po doesn't want the responsibility. He just wants to be the Dragon Warrior and nothing more. There's this conversation that Shifu has where he tells Po he needs to discover who he is. Frankly, I don't like this wording. For one, it's the exact phrase I'm pretty sure that was used in the past two films, so it doesn't need to be here. But Shifu does give this great quote saying, "If you only do what you can do, then you will never be more than you are now." It's a great quote telling Po basically that if you want to grow as a person, you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And the way Shifu wants to
I am honored. Illuminate your path. Can I assist you? the stars guide you.
To accomplish this is by Poe becoming a teacher. After this, Poe's biological dad shows up and Poe is ecstatic. However, he loves this not just because he's glad to have met his biological father, he subconsciously loves this because it puts him in the position of a student again. Lee tells Poe that he wants to take Poe back to his village and teach him what it means to truly be a panda. And for the plot, he will teach Poe how to master chi. This is the position that Poe is the most comfortable in, so he gladly accepts. For a good portion of the movie, Poe pretty much just learns what it's like to be a panda. Whenever Poe asks his father to teach him chi, Lee keeps on lying and making excuses. Even though Poe loves spending time with his father, the burden of being the dragon warrior still weighs on him. He has to learn chi because if he doesn't, then Kai will defeat him. Unlike the last two films where Poe had everything he needed all along to win, he just needed to realize it, in this film Poe needs to learn a new skill. So when Lee tells Poe that he doesn't know chi and that he lied to him just to keep Poe safe, Poe's devastated. Not just because he was lied to, but because it puts him in a position he's never been in before. What I love about the end of this film is that Poe learns the same lesson that Shifu learned in the first film. Shifu had to learn to adapt his teaching strategy to fit Poe. He taught Poe differently than he had any of his other students. He used food. Poe takes that same lesson from Shifu and trains the entire panda village in preparation for Kai's attack. He feeds into each one of the panda's strengths, and that is how they end up defeating Kai. Because Poe put faith into the other pandas, they were able to give him their chi when he needed it the most in the spirit realm. This film found a new way for Poe to grow. It put him in a position of authority, and frankly, I love that. I said earlier that Kung Fu Panda 3 is the weakest of the trilogy, and while I stand by that statement wholeheartedly, this film still has a lot to love. I really liked the direction they chose to take Poe in this movie. Frankly, it's a great progression of his character, and it puts him in a good position to grow even further in Kung Fu Panda 4. Sure, the villain of this film was kinda weak, and sure, the pacing here wasn't as great as the other two films, but Kung Fu Panda 3 is still a solid entry into this trilogy, and caps it off with a satisfying arc for Poe. The Kung Fu Panda trilogy is overall a great trilogy. Even for 3 films that were made for kids, the writers put so much thought and effort into making these films truly special. I want to take some time, however, to discuss the notion of these being kids films, because surprisingly enough, people debate whether these films are for kids or not. If you're not familiar with my channel, I have made a lot of videos on both the Star Wars franchise and the Avatar franchise. Even though the creators of both franchises have openly come out and said their respective stories are for kids,
you know, it's a film for 12-year-olds.
People still argue saying they are not for kids. I made this video on Star Wars The Clone Wars, and in it I said the show was for kids. People freaked out and told me how it's not for kids. Look at the violence. And then they tag compilation videos of the violence in the show. I've always been fascinated by this insecurity people have because they like something that is for kids. It's not for kids, it's for everyone, is something people often say. Yes, that is true. Stories like Star Wars or Kung Fu Panda are for everyone, but their primary audience is for kids. Now, does this mean that these stories are lesser than adult stories? No, it does not. Kids' stories are allowed to have just as much to say as adult stories. People just look at the levels of violence and use that as the determinant factor in whether or not a show or movie is for kids. Like in the Clone Wars, people point to the scene of Ahsoka decapitating a handful of people as reasons for pointing out why the show is not for kids. Even though each person she decapitated was wearing a helmet, we don't actually see their heads come off, and it takes place in a foggy room. People think that kids' stories are just these Mickey Mouse shows on the Disney Channel. No, you guys vastly underestimate what a kid can handle. When we look at the Kung Fu Panda trilogy, the films tackle themes of abuse, genocide, trauma, abandonment, body insecurity, and so much more. Children can understand these concepts. Just because there is a lot of Chinese philosophy built into these films that kids may not understand, that doesn't mean that children aren't still the primary audience. What makes a story for kids is mostly about the lessons they teach and how they teach them. The Kung Fu Panda movies are all movies about growth and accepting accepting who you are and finding your place in the world. The first film is how parental figures often damage their children with the expectations they put on them. It's a coming-of-age story where Poe learns what he wants in life and pursues it. What makes these films for kids is the presentation around the messages. The fat jokes and the childish humor is only a part of what makes these films for kids. It's also conveying the message in a way that kids can easily understand. I feel like we often dismiss the label of for kids because we assume that the lessons the film teaches can only be for kids. That if a 30-year-old relates to the message of a kid's story, that they are somehow behind in life or that they should have already learned that lesson. That's not the case. The themes of these films can be learned by anyone. You are not behind in life if you're 50 years old and you relate to the theme of accepting your trauma in Kung Fu Panda 2. What makes these films for kids is that kids can relate to them too, so they can maybe learn the same lessons by the time they're your age. What do you guys think? Is the Kung Fu Panda trilogy a masterpiece? Is it overrated? Or is it somewhere in between? Let me know down below. Thank you everyone so much for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to like the Claude Squad, and I will see you guys next time.
To the fairest of sexes, of which my wife was the fairest representative, it is you who have behaved unnaturally and scandalously to the woman who was joined to me in God.
I, sir, unnaturally, scandalously?
Scandalously! She told me all.
You listened to the dribblings of a farmer's wife?
Since I was the farmer, yes. You, sir, who have behaved scandalously.
What are you looking for?
Jill Biden's husband. Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security. My name's Joe Biden. I'm Jill Biden's husband. Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm going to introduce you all the way. Everybody's just here.
Barbenheimer was the cultural event of 2023. The film about a plastic doll and the film about the creation of the nuclear bomb started a chain reaction that would take over the world. So 1 year later, let's look back on Greta Gerwig's Barbie and Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer and see what made this event so big. First, I will dive deep into Barbie and its story, then I will dive deep into Oppenheimer and its story, and then I will wrap up the video by discussing how the two came together to make the biggest movie event of the decade so far. So, let's begin. So, Barbie 1 year later. There's three aspects of this film that I want to talk about. First, I'm going to discuss the production of the film, then I'll discuss my thoughts on the story and the themes of the film, and then I'll conclude by discussing the politics of the film because that cannot be avoided. I think if there's one aspect of this film that everyone can agree upon, it's that the production of this film was excellent. I'm talking about the sets, the costumes, the music, everything about the production design of this film was excellent. But I want to give this film more credit than it deserves because what this film does is respect the Barbie source material. Now, shocker, I know, I'm not too familiar with the Barbie source material. And by source material, I mean the history of the dolls, the sets, the outfits, everything. But just because I'm not familiar with the variety of different Barbie products out there, that doesn't mean I can't do my research on people who are familiar with it. And that doesn't mean I can't compare how Greta Gerwig approached this film to something I am more familiar with. I believe that when you're telling a story within a given franchise, it's important that you honor the fans in some way. This can be through little nods that only hardcore fans will notice. This can be through perfectly adapting an existing story. This can be through simple fan service. This shouldn't be the priority of your movie, but it should be a lesser priority, kind of like icing on the cake. We live during a time where fan service is completely frowned upon, mostly because it's been the centerpiece upon which stories are built these days. But when you have a great story that also also nods to the fans, again, I think that goes a long way. For those of you who are familiar with my channel, you would know I love Star Wars. And you know what's a big part of the legacy of Star Wars? The toys. Growing up, I loved collecting all the toys of Star Wars, most specifically Star Wars Lego. I remember wanting to have a minifigure of every version of Luke Skywalker. I wanted his farm boy outfit, I wanted his pilot outfit, I wanted his Dagobah outfit, I wanted his Hoth outfit, I wanted his Jedi outfit. I wanted to collect all the Luke Skywalkers. When it comes to Barbie, I don't know the vast array of Barbie products, but I've listened to people who are familiar with the Barbie products. I've heard them say how they recognize so many of the different outfits in the film. I've heard them recognize a bunch of different sets that were in the film. Even the different kinds of Barbies themselves were something that fans recognized. The outfit that the Barbie wears in the Stanley Kubrick-esque scene in the beginning of the movie, that was the first Barbie outfit ever. It goes even beyond that. Apparently everything in Barbie Land is 23% smaller than it would be in the real world. The cars, the heights of the room, the size of a few of the objects are just some examples. Doing this makes the people in Barbie Land feel a bit bigger, which is how Barbies in their real sets feel. Even the way that Land size and small, it goes even beyond that. Apparently everything in Barbie Land is 23% smaller than it would be in the real world. The cars, the heights of the room, the size of a few of the objects are just some examples. Doing this makes the people in Barbie Land feel a bit bigger, which is how Barbies in their real sets feel. Even the way that characters move, like the stiffness of Margot Robbie's Barbie supposedly feels how a Barbie should feel. I don't care for the Barbie franchise, and I probably never will. So none of these little things that I mentioned are something that I noticed. But there are people out there who did notice, and those people really appreciated that extra effort. If Star Wars or some other franchise did something like this, I would be praising the film. So I wanted to take the time to shout out Gerwig and her team behind the film because I think respecting the fans is never a bad thing. It just shouldn't be the top priority, which it isn't in the Barbie movie. The top priority here was telling a story around the complicated history of Barbie. So let's discuss that. I'm gonna say something controversial. Barbie is a movie that is made for women and little girls, and that is okay. Movies are allowed to have a priority in mind. Going back to Star Wars, George Lucas has always said that Star Wars is for kids. When I point this out, fans get mad and say, no, it's for everyone, it's not a kids franchise. Just because a story has a primary audience, that doesn't mean that everyone can't enjoy it. Star Wars is for kids and adults can enjoy it. Barbie is for women. And little girls, but everyone can enjoy the film. The reason I want to emphasize this is because the themes and messages of this film are clearly directed towards women, but the arc that Barbie goes on is something that anyone can relate to. The themes about Barbie that resonated the most with me were the dangers of perfectionism and the beauty that's in flaws. Barbie begins by telling us how perfect this matriarchal society is. Everyone is happy, there's no violence, people party all the time. This is the perfect utopia. When women are in charge, everything is better, right? No. If this is what you took away from the beginning of the movie, then you are clueless. Barbie Land is the epitome of toxic positivity. Everyone is happy, right? But what happens when someone has a dark thought, like thoughts of death? They get shunned for it. Everyone is so nice to everyone, right? Well, except the Barbies aren't nice to the Kens, and they aren't even nice to that one crazy Barbie. They shunned her to the outskirts of the city. Everyone looks and dresses so perfectly, right? But once a Barbie talks about getting cellulite, something that almost every woman deals with, it's treated as something gross and something to be freaked out about. Everyone acts like Barbie Land is perfect, but any deviation from that is unacceptable. This is toxic positivity. By the way, since most of the women in this movie are named Barbie, I'm just going to refer to the main Barbie as Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie begins the story as sort of a naive child. She thinks everything is perfect in Barbie Land. Then she starts having strange thoughts and is forced to go into the real world to find the girl who is causing these negative thoughts. When Margot Robbie gets to the real world, she sees how not perfect it is. Some men harass her, some women make fun of her and make her cry. Nothing about the real world is perfect. When she meets up with Gloria, she tells Gloria that she will take her to Barbie Land so she can show her how perfect the world is. But it's not perfect because the Kens took over. Margot Robbie ends up feeling like she's not perfect anymore. She says she's not pretty and she feels worthless. Now you can argue about the effectiveness of Gloria's monologue here, but the point is that nobody can be perfect, and to constantly strive for perfection will only make you miserable. At the end of the movie, when the Barbies defeat the Kens, this is what she tries to teach Ryan Gosling's Ken. That external validation.
Jeg skulle måske lige tage en sunflower på vej. En sunflower. Egentlig lige tage en sunflower med derovre. Hvad lå det her?
Is not what will fulfill you. External validation is constantly pushing a boulder up a mountain that has no summit. One of the best scenes in the movie is when Margot Robbie is just sitting on a bench looking out at the park. She sees a family, she sees people playing, she sees people laughing, but she also sees someone who is sad and a couple that is fighting. This is the reality of not only our world, but what it's like to be a human being. When she turns to the old woman and tells her that she's beautiful, that was such a powerful moment because getting old is symbolic of really any living being's biggest flaw. No one wants to get old. We all wish we could be young forever. So hearing Margot Robbie tell this old woman that she was beautiful was her basically saying the flaws in human beings are beautiful, and I really like that moment. Barbie ends the movie excited to go to the gynecologist. No one wants to go to the doctor for any kind of checkup, so for her to be excited about this moment was really funny, but a good culmination of her arc. I think the reason I resonate with this message so much about embracing imperfection is because of the climate I witness on social media. As a YouTuber, I'm on social media quite often, a lot more than I wish I was. Every time I hear someone say they took a break from their phones, they always say how much happier they were. That's because you aren't fed an algorithm that makes you feel worse about yourself. You aren't comparing yourself to people who have more money than you. You aren't comparing yourself to people who are more advanced in their careers than you. You aren't comparing yourself to people who are better looking than you. You aren't reading toxic posts about people fighting over political issues. Social media is a gift, but it's also a curse. Intentional or not, I do also love what this movie has to say about toxic positivity. Margot Robbie's Barbie throughout the beginning of the movie is told how great she is. Frankly, every Barbie is telling every other Barbie how great they are. But that's all superficial. What makes Margot Robbie's Barbie so great? Yeah, she's gorgeous as hell, but what else? She's not particularly nice, as we see with her relationship to Ken. She has no skills. She hasn't contributed to society in a meaningful way. I bring this up because I think the main reason so many people post on Instagram or other platforms is so they can get this superficial external validation. Oh, you're so pretty. Oh, you're so smart. OMG, I love you. You read these comments and you feel good for a second. Then you put your phone away and you look up at the ceiling as you fall asleep and you realize it doesn't make you feel any better in the long run. External validation is never the key to happiness. Does this make me a hypocrite because I make YouTube videos? Maybe. Granted, I make videos because I love stories and I want to be a storyteller one day. But yeah, I like comments saying that my ideas were smart. I like seeing a subscriber count of 100,000 or higher. But over the years, I've learned that the number next to my subscriber count isn't what makes me happy. Talking about stories does. So maybe my arc was similar to Margot Robbie's character. Ryan Gosling's arc in this movie is the same thing, which is also why I get so annoyed when people say this movie is so anti-men. Yeah, all the men in the movie are idiots, and I do think that was a mistake the movie made, but let's look at the deeper meaning of Ryan Gosling's story. So as a Ken, he gets no respect in Barbie Land. Narrator says Ken only has a good day when Barbie has a good day. He travels to the real world where he learns about patriarchy. Under a patriarchy, everyone will respect him and think he's great just because he's a man. But because that's not how the real world works, he goes back to Barbie Land to implement patriarchy, and it works for a bit. Except he comes to learn at the end that it never made him happy anyway. He pleads to Margot Robbie that all he wants is her, and she tries to teach him that he needs to be enough. He needs to define himself outside of the external validation from Barbie. How is that message anti-men? How is saying you shouldn't be defined by the approval of women anti-men? men. And this brings me into the politics of this movie. I find it so fascinating that a movie about feminism and how people struggle with external validation was more divisive than the movie discussing the creation of the first nuclear bomb that was dropped on thousands of innocent people. What I find the most interesting about this movie is not that it appears to be so divisive, but rather the reflection it says on the people who watched it. This movie, maybe more than any movie I can recall, is more about what you take in with you while you're watching it. If you're someone who is tired of woke films in Hollywood, you're going to watch this movie, see the treatment of the Kens, see how the Kendom was toppled, and think this movie is anti-men. If you're someone who's a hardcore feminist who has studied feminist theory, then you're probably going to think this movie wasn't feminist enough. If you're someone who just wanted to go to the movies to see Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, you'll probably think this movie was pretty fun. The topics of this movie have such a long and complicated history that it's bound to bring up multiple different sides of multiple different arguments. As the prologue of this movie suggests, Barbie exploded back in the 1960s because it was the first time little girls could play with dolls of adult women, not baby dolls. Mattel has said that Barbie is a woman who can do whatever she wants, be whoever she wants, and look however she wants. There were no limits to what Barbie could be. This choice that Barbie had would be something that resonated with so many little girls, and it still does. Critics of Barbie say that Barbie promotes unrealistic beauty standards and sets girls up for failure when they are told they can be whatever they want when they really can't. They also argue that Barbie can never be a symbol of feminism when it is made by a large corporation that capitalizes on the underpaid and unfair treatments of workers. I'm not here to argue either side. There are very few subjects I know less about than feminist theory. I just find it interesting how these same praises and criticisms of Barbie are reflected in the Barbie movie. We see this diverse group of women and what these women can do, and that's great. We also see the argument Sasha makes about the history of Barbie. Now, you could argue that the movie does poke fun at Mattel, which I'll give the movie credit because it does, and that surprised me. But frankly, Mattel doesn't care how people view the company. They only care about how people view Barbie. You might be laughing at the Mattel execs depicted in the film with the ticket you purchased, and guess where some of those proceeds go? Straight to Mattel. Now, the culture war part of this debate is something that I can comment on. I already began discussing it before when talking about Ken, but I want to continue discussing it here. If you told me there would be a scene where Ken wants to hang out with Barbie, but Barbie tells Ken to go away while she goes inside and has fun with all the girls, I'd be like, okay, maybe this film treats the men poorly. But when you actually watch the scenes, the context and how these scenes are filmed absolutely matters. The scene I just mentioned where Barbie tells Ken to go away is not framed in a way that paints Barbie in a positive light. After this moment, the camera lingers on Ryan Gosling and is made to make you feel bad for him. When the Kendom is toppled and all the men are stripped of their power, the movie frames this as something that never made the Kens happy anyway. How can this movie be anti-men when it argues that a patriarchal society also hurts men? Throughout the video, I've said that the men are all idiots in this movie, and that's true. But all the women in this movie are either idiots too or follow a specific trope. All the Barbies aren't that intelligent, except for maybe crazy Barbie. Sasha I wouldn't consider a smart character. The movie plays her off as an edgy teenager who neglects her mother. Gloria is the only character who isn't painted as superficial to begin the movie. And that's the point because, again, Barbie Land and the Barbies within Barbie Land are not the ideal to strive towards. This movie openly makes the argument that a society ruled entirely by women doesn't work. At the end of the day, Barbie was a massive hit for Mattel. The production design and the respect for the history of Barbie was something that can only be admired. The movie tried to teach us a story about perfectionism, external validation, what it means to be human, and what it means to feel fulfilled. And the film sparked a discussion across all sides of the political aisle that makes it fun to discuss even a year later. Barbie certainly left an impact on pop culture, but so did the movie about that theoretical physicist. Before continuing on with the rest of this video, only 7.6% of my viewers are subscribed to this channel. So if you're enjoying this video, please consider spreading a message to its audience. Oppenheimer is a movie about a man who had to suffer his whole life based on the actions he made. If you are familiar with my channel, you would know my cardinal rule of storytelling is that characters must suffer the consequences of their actions. Not only does Oppenheimer suffer the consequences of his actions, but you could argue that the consequences of the reactions are more important to the film than the actions themselves. Christopher Nolan asked himself, how can I tell the narrative of a person's entire life in just 3 hours while also having the audience understand that same pain this person had to deal with? When I saw this movie for the first time, I was confused by a lot of the movie. I didn't understand the need to separate the film into so many timelines. I didn't understand the purpose of the Strauss storyline. I didn't understand why so many parts of Oppenheimer's life that seemed insignificant were highlighted in the film. But upon my rewatch, it all became clear to me. The movie is basically a trial for Oppenheimer's life. Even though on multiple occasions it is said that certain scenes are not a trial, narratively it serves as a trial for Oppenheimer. Instead of being arrested or executed for his part in the creation of the atomic bomb, his punishment will be eternal damnation. The feeling of existential dread that will plague him for the rest of his life. Every scene that takes place, in color at least, is to either develop Oppenheimer's motivations for participating in the creation of the bomb, or it is used as evidence later on in his so-called trial. Oppenheimer doesn't just suffer the consequences of his actions related to the creation of the bomb, but he is also put on trial for events that are totally unrelated, but are made related because his entire life is being put under a microscope. Chronologically, everything that is shown before the events of the Trinity test does a great job at humanizing Oppenheimer. What I love about these moments is that the movie doesn't try to frame Oppenheimer as innocent or guilty. He wasn't some totally evil tyrant who wanted to end the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, but he also wasn't the goody two-shoes scientist who was forced against his will to create the bomb for the United States. The structure of this film is also something I greatly appreciated. It allows Oppenheimer to share to the audience his inner monologue. In stories that are as character-based as Oppenheimer is, it's far easier to write a book on said character than it is to portray them on screen because of how much easier it is to write someone's inner monologue in a book. In a book, you can write down what the character is thinking and feeling, but in a show or movie, it is on the onus of the actor to portray those inner thoughts to the audience, something that is incredibly hard to do, but something Cillian Murphy does brilliantly. But going back to the inner monologue, by having these scenes where Oppenheimer is fighting for a security clearance, we can get an insight into what Oppenheimer was thinking during key parts of the story. This narrative choice, along with Cillian Murphy's Oscar-winning performance, made Oppenheimer one of the most well-developed characters I had seen put to screen in a long time. When we see the earliest parts of Oppenheimer's life, he's portrayed with so much promise. He's portrayed as a young and up-and-coming scientist. He's respected by many of the other scientists. He is even sought after to help bring quantum physics to the United States. He is clearly smart and his knowledge is revered by many. But he is also as flawed as anyone. He almost resorts to murdering his teacher because of his frustrations. He isn't a great father because his mind is trapped into the possibilities of quantum physics. He isn't a great husband to Kitty, even cheating on her at one point. Also, as I'll get into in a second, Oppenheimer is constantly moving the goalposts as to why he's contributing to the creation of the most destructive bomb ever. During the parts of the movie before the Trinity test, Oppenheimer seems to be in control of everything. He successfully led the campaign to introduce quantum physics to the United States. He successfully surrounded himself with other scientists to help him study quantum physics. When he's sought after to lead the Manhattan Project, he leads it perfectly, even though the movie goes out of its way to show all the aspects of Oppenheimer's life that he struggled with, the actual development of the bomb seemed to have gone as smoothly as it can be. Throughout this entire portion of the movie, Cillian Murphy's acting must be highlighted. I don't discuss acting much on this channel because who am I to critique someone's acting, but the subtle mannerisms I noticed about Oppenheimer before and after the Trinity test almost paint the picture of two completely different people. Before the test, he was seen as confident, almost egotistical. He is able to manipulate those around him to continue to work or be begin working on the bomb. Again, everyone respects him, and when the test works, he is paraded around like a hero. Oppenheimer's belief that he can control everything ties in perfectly to his views on quantum physics. Quantum physics argues that there are parts of the world that are unknowable, so therefore instead of dealing with certainties, you can only deal with probabilities. Deep down, Oppenheimer might think that if he can conquer this world of probabilities and turn it into a world of certainties, then he can conquer anything else. But even before the Trinity test occurs, little seeds of his downfall are placed throughout the portion of the film, most notably his reasons for contributing to the bomb. At first, it's just his interest in quantum physics, but then it's fear that the Germans will create the bomb first. Because Oppenheimer is Jewish and the Germans are committing the Holocaust, the project now becomes a bit more personal. After it is revealed that Hitler is dead and Germany is defeated, his reasons for continuing to work on the bomb are that it will bring eternal peace because the world will fear what the bomb can do. But of course, all this changes once the Trinity test is successful. Before I move on to what happens after the test, I want to discuss the moment of the test itself and how masterfully this scene was executed. There are multiple reasons why this moment was so effective. Of course, a major reason is simple setup and payoff. People watching the movie know the movie is about the man who created the atomic bomb. The marketing of the movie teased the explosion of the bomb, and we see these people working months and years at a time to create the bomb. So seeing the payoff of the bomb explode was something we all wanted to see. Simple setup and payoff. But it's also a bit more than that. At the end of the day, this is just a test, but we are so invested because of how invested the characters are. I always say that it's not the action itself that is so powerful, but the reaction that is so powerful. We care just as much about how the people react to the test as we do the test itself. The same thing could be said with the moments where the characters discuss the probability the Earth will be set ablaze. We of course know this won't happen, and it is even stated how the chances the Earth does ignite are near zero. But the characters in the film treat this small probability with so much severity. Oppenheimer travels across the country to see Albert Einstein for his thoughts on these probabilities. And when he mentions the near zero probability to General Groves, he treats it with the same severity as well. The reaction to the events surrounding the characters is a big reason why the Trinity test was so powerful. Now, this next point may be a small one, but I think another part of it is the trust Nolan has built with the audience. The Trinity test happens around 2 hours into the film. Throughout these first 2 hours, we are still being treated to the spectacle that is this film. The shots of the quantum world in Oppenheimer's mind are beautiful. Establishing shots of the world are also just as beautiful. The score as well is so captivating. Given the production value of the film, the audience is led to believe that the Trinity test will be a spectacle to behold, and it certainly was a spectacle. However, everything changes after this moment. For the past 3 years, Oppenheimer worked endlessly towards the goal of creating the bomb, but now that all those probabilities he's calculated are a reality, his worldview is not the same. After a celebration, the bomb is taken away from him. He advises precaution, but the United States government ignores him. After the Nazis were defeated, the goals shifted to using the bomb on Japan. Japan was pretty much fighting a losing war at this point, and unlike the Germans, they were no threat to creating a bomb of a similar power. The scene where the government chooses which cities were to be bombed was quite horrifying. Thousands of people's lives are in the hands of a few men, and ultimately 2 cities were chosen. During the time between the Trinity test and the use of the bombs on Japan, Oppenheimer's left in the dark. He eagerly paces and repeatedly calls Groves asking for updates but gets nothing. For the first time, Oppenheimer has no control. Over national radio, he learns of the bombings and that the war is over. This should be a moment of victory. American soldiers are sent home, families are reunited, and peace can reign. But when Oppenheimer gives his victory speech, he can't help but think about the people that were most affected by the bomb. Here, Americans are cheering and celebrating, but in Japan, people are screaming and grieving. The horror of his imagination consumes him in the scene. This might be Cillian Murphy's most well-acted scene in the movie. The movie began with a brief summary of the Greek god Prometheus. He gave fire to man and was tortured for all eternity because of it. Here, when Oppenheimer ponders what happened to Japan, his eternal torture begins. From this point on in his life, Oppenheimer will now suffer the consequences of his actions and be put on a metaphorical trial for his crimes. A big topic of discussion when it came to this movie was whether or not the film should have shown the violence violence inflicted by the bombs. And given the sensitive nature of the real bombing, this certainly sparks lots of debate. Some argued that showing the events of the bombing would put into perspective the true horror of the bombs. Others argued that showing the pain of hundreds of thousands of people in a movie meant to entertain others is bad taste. While I certainly understand these points, I think it was the right decision to not show the bombings because at the end of the day, this film is about Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer wasn't in Hiroshima or Nagasaki. All the scenes in color are from Oppenheimer's perspective, so it would have been off to show something that Oppenheimer never saw himself. Granted, there's that one scene where Oppenheimer is shown the violence at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but the split second Oppenheimer is showed an image, he looks away. It's almost as if he's been tortured enough and cannot contemplate the certainty of what happened. All movie, Oppenheimer strove to achieve certainty, but now that the definitive images of what happened are shown to him, he looks away, preferring to leave it to his own imagination. I also think showing the horrors of Hiroshima or Nagasaki aren't as important because Oppenheimer's guilt mostly stems from the world he created, rather than what happened in Japan. He certainly does feel some guilt about what happened, but as the end of the movie shows us, what truly haunts him is the chain reaction that will destroy the entire world. In the years after the end of the war, Oppenheimer remained in politics to try and deter future use of nuclear weapons. When asked what should happen to Los Alamos, he said the United States should give the land back to the Indians, but in response he was told that the United States needs to continue to fund the project to create more powerful bombs. One criticism of this movie was that it completely ignored the plight of the Indians in New Mexico. Los Alamos was built on their land, but ultimately the military-industrial complex put their own needs over the suffering of the natives. Does Oppenheimer share some guilt over their suffering too? Oppenheimer meets with President Truman to discuss the future of the bombs, and the meeting goes horribly. Oppenheimer feels like he has blood on his hands, but Truman doesn't give a fuck, and he calls him a crybaby. Before the Trinity test, Oppenheimer's opinion was greatly valued and he had influence over the project. Now he is constantly ignored, mocked, and not taken seriously. The film has now caught up to the events of his not trial. His entire life is thrown back at him, even the events that did not relate to the creation of the bomb. The movie goes to show us how Oppenheimer often felt empathy for the oppressed. He supported revolutions against fascism, going as far as sending funds to people suffering in those revolutions. However, this act of righteousness is thrown back in his face as a reason to remove his security clearance. A big part of this movie I haven't brought up yet was Oppenheimer's relationship with Jean Tatlock. Oppenheimer had a complicated relationship with Jean, but he did ultimately care about her. He promised her years ago that he would always be there for her, but when she needs him years later, Oppenheimer tells her that this is the last time he will ever see her. Oppenheimer knew he was being followed, but still went to see a known communist anyway. What resulted from this? It was later used as evidence for him working with the communists, and Jean ended up likely killing herself because of her mental struggles. Oppenheimer's work not only is affecting people in Japan, but it is also affecting the people in his life. There's a great line from the scene that comes shortly after her alleged suicide. When Kitty confronts Oppenheimer, who is distraught over Jean's death, she says, "You don't get to commit the sin and then make us feel bad for you that it had consequences." When you take this quote and apply it to Oppenheimer's actions across the whole movie, it makes a lot more thematic sense. After multiple hearings and multiple interviews, the board votes to remove Oppenheimer's security clearance. At first, I didn't understand why this was such a big deal. Sure, having security clearance would be nice, but the bomb had already been dropped on Japan. What use could Oppenheimer have now? Upon my rewatch, it was made more clear to me. Oppenheimer in the years following the war used his position in government to try and impact nuclear policy. While he never openly expressed regret for his role, he did want to make sure the world didn't go down the path of a nuclear world. Even though his attempts failed, Oppenheimer might have found solace in knowing he was at least trying to make a difference and put the genie back in the bottle. But by having his clearance removed, he is now completely out of the United States government. The future of the atomic world is completely out of his hands. He has no say. All he can do now is watch and pray the world doesn't destroy itself. It's one thing living with guilt but still being able to make change. Now he is living with guilt and cannot make any change. The part of the movie I have completely ignored is the importance of Strauss. In the movie about Oppenheimer, a rather large portion of this movie is devoted to Strauss, and it puzzled me at first, just like a large portion of this movie did. Surely it's important to show us events of Oppenheimer outside from his perspective, but my interpretation of this part of the movie was just another thing that Oppenheimer must suffer for. While there was the public humiliation of Strauss at the hands of Oppenheimer, the movie treats the incident with Einstein as the biggest reason for Strauss's vindictiveness. Oppenheimer had a genuine conversation with Einstein about the future, and Strauss interpreted the outcome in a completely different way, leading him down the path of stacking the trial to remove Oppenheimer's security clearance. Oppenheimer was hated for something he didn't do. He never turned the scientists against Strauss, but as the theme of this movie suggests, Oppenheimer will continue to suffer the consequences of opening Pandora's box. The movie ends with existential dread. Oppenheimer fears he started a chain reaction that will destroy the entire world. He envisions a world of nukes, a world of war, a world of fire. Of course, the movie brilliantly built up to this moment, but the audience's awareness of the politics of our world today certainly plays a part in it. I think every single person who is somewhat familiar with world politics fears nuclear war to some extent. We all know it's a realistic possibility. We all know that our lives in the face of the world can be changed by the single press of a button. We all share that existential feeling of dread. And what better way to end your film than your audience feeling the exact same way as your main character? Oppenheimer was a masterclass in character. It showed us the rise of Oppenheimer, the fall of Oppenheimer, the flaws of Oppenheimer, and the guilt of Oppenheimer all in just 3 hours. It's no surprise that this movie won Best Picture, and I have a strong feeling that the message of this film will remain relevant for a very long time. So, Barbenheimer 1 year later. While both movies are worth discussing deeply and both certainly impacted pop culture, I think it's important to discuss the film event itself. I believe that a big reason both films did as well as they did was because they were marketed together. I don't think either film makes as much money as it did without the other. So what happened? Why did Barbenheimer work so well? Why did the marketing of two major films completely polar opposites from each other work so well? Of course, a part of it was certainly how opposite the films were. Throughout Hollywood history, you would get movies competing with each other coming out at the same time. This would often divide audiences as the movies tried to compete for attention. But with Barbie and Oppenheimer, since the movies were total opposites, they had the complete opposite typical demographic. So the movies weren't competing for each other's audiences. Also, how opposite these movies were was frankly funny and made for some great memes. As much as we may not like to admit it, modern pop culture can heavily be influenced by memes. All these jokes about the two movies became so pronounced that they grabbed the attention of the people involved in both studios. Now, I don't know if this was the intention of the studios, the actors and directors, or some other party, but the crew of both films embraced the meme. Both Cillian Murphy and Margot Robbie loved the Barbenheimer event. What resulted in this was a lack of tribalism about the two films. While almost everyone has a favorite of the two, it didn't turn into some tribal culture war. You weren't seeing Team Barbie or Team Oppenheimer trending on Twitter. You just saw the unification of the two in Barbenheimer trending. In a rare event, film fans all over the spectrum came together to embrace Barbenheimer. When this event became so popular, people simply didn't want to miss out. People who would have usually just seen one of the two movies ended up seeing both just so they could be a part of the conversation. And conversation often drives box office results. I do think a lot of this also stemmed from the state of the film industry. In 2023, movies like Indiana Jones, The Flash, and Mission Impossible were also coming out, and they all bombed. People post Avengers Endgame are simply tired of these cinematic universes. Both Barbie and Oppenheimer are original screenplays not tied to some expanded universe. Sure, Barbie is the IP of the most popular doll in American history, but Barbie is not known as a modern film franchise like Star Wars or Marvel are. Aside from the state of sequels, the film industry was dealing with the strikes and the